Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin.
10 minutes left. Yeah, but there's still some time. It's not the final score. We need more than the numbers we're given. Show us you live and breathe the game. You're more than a name. That's what we came for. We can bring you more than the score. Every story. Let's take this thing off of the field into the real world, away from the numbers, away from the numbers.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. There's still time. The AFTN Soccer Show, broadcasting on CITR Radio 101.9 FM from beautiful British Columbia. I'm Michael McCall,
And I'm Zachary Adam Eisenheimer.
and we're back with another packed podcast in what has not been a very joyous week in Whitecapsland. It has to be said. Back-to-back defeats in Cup and League action. We will unpack all of those games, the main talking points coming out of them as well. A lot of things happened over the course of the two games, I think, for us to talk about, so we'll cover that in the first two parts of this episode. We're doing a special five-parter this week, though, Zach. Five parts in this episode, primarily because there's three BIS songs I want to bring, and our C86 song, because there's five BIS songs I want to play before the month is out. So I need to do this over five parts to enable us to do that. But it's also, it lets us break it up a little bit as well, because we're going to round up the action in MLS. I've got a few chats to bring everyone as well. I was sitting down at training this week with Mihail Gherasimencov, who got back-to-back starts as well. So that was timely doing that. Basti Schonlau, spoke to him on Thursday as well about his return for injury and trying to break into the first team. And in the last part, we've got a special chat to bring you with new CPL Commissioner James Johnson as the CPL season gets underway in less than 2 weeks. And it's an important year for the league with the World Cup being here. They want more eyeballs on it. We'll talk about this season to come, the growth of the league as well, and a few other things. So a lot to cover over the course of the show, Zach. It's been another busy week football-wise. What else have you been up to since the last show?
Oh man, spring break. So some good time with the family. Some good time with friends. Lots of games this week. Lots of board games and tabletop games. Lots of fun, and then lots of football, which has been great.
Yeah, it's a busy time. My allergies have been playing up this week, though. I've been quite drained the last couple of days. Hoping whenever the cherry blossoms come out, it starts to really affect me, and I get quite drained. So it's nice that the Whitecaps have got next weekend off. Give us a chance to recover. But we've got a lot of fun stuff that we've got planned for the next show as well. So we'll keep that under wraps for now. But we're going to kick this episode off as we've been kicking many of the episodes off this year. It's time to dig into a little bit of soccer history, our Canadian soccer A to Z. And this week we're up to the letter M. So we're basically going to be at the halfway point, Zach, of this segment by the end of this episode. We're up to the letter M. We've not discussed what it's going to be that either of us are bringing to the table. You get to go first. So I've had to prepare three because I don't know what you're coming with. I think I know who you're coming with. So let's see. Who is your M for our Canadian soccer A to Z?
I had to go with this one. No, this is maybe for those who are listening from other parts of the country, it's maybe a little too West Coast centric, but I think it's worthy of it, and it's Dominic Mobilio.
That was the one I was wanting to go for. Damn you.
Yeah. Yeah. Dominic Mobilio, of course, was a prolific goal scorer for the Vancouver 86ers, part of the Whitecaps history or that era. From 87 to 2000, he played in 280 games and had 167 goals. And then I think there was 3 in continental competitions or something that get us into the 170 mark that he is holds the record for the Whitecaps all-time leading scorer that Brian White is almost halfway to, or maybe, yeah, almost halfway to. He's one away from being halfway to that.
Yeah, he's said to Har this week, he still harbours dreams that he can catch him.
Wow.
Which, I mean, is going to be a phenomenal couple of years if he's going to do that.
Those are some big dreams.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dom also, I didn't know, actually, I totally forgot this. Maybe you knew this, but he had a loan spell in 93, 94 where he played 2 games for Dundee.
I didn't know that until I was doing research for this.
Yeah. Same. But he also was crazily prolific in the indoor game, scoring over 170 goals for the Baltimore Blast, over 70 goals for the Harris Heat, over 90 goals for the Edmonton Drillers, and over 90 goals for the Philadelphia Kicks. That's Kixx. And the Detroit, he had almost 30 goals for the Detroit Rockers. Yeah, he was just a prolific goal scorer in front of goal. I don't know that if I ever got to see him play other than where's the Driller? No, yeah, I might have seen him play in an exhibition game for the Drillers because I did go to one game of the Drillers, but it might have been after, it might not have been it was either 99 or 2000.
Well, see, I was thinking that I probably hadn't seen him play. But then I read that he retired in 2001. So depending when he retired, I was over here twice in 2001 and I took in a couple of Whitecaps games. So I haven't had a chance to dig in to see if he played that season or not.
I think he was done in 2000. I think he was playing indoor in 2001. Yeah.
So I would
have. But yeah, obviously he tragically died of a heart attack at the age 35.
Yeah.
Huge loss to the whole footballing community here in Vancouver and really across the country. Only played 25 times for Canada.
I was surprised when I saw that.
Yeah, only scoring 3 goals. He scored against Honduras in a 3-1, I believe, victory. He scored against El Salvador, I believe, in a 2-1 loss. And then scored in a 2-1 win over. He scored against Australia in the World Cup qualifiers. And trying to qualify for the 94 World Cup in that playoff. That's probably his biggest goal for Canada. And he's of course, he's a part of the Canada Soccer Hall of Fame.
Yeah. And his name still lives on locally as well. There's Mobilio Field out in Coquitlam. There's a lot of the Mobilio family still involved with Coquitlam Metro Ford as well. And the Whitecaps, their Golden Boot Award every year is the Dominic Mobilio Boot Award. So his number 10 jersey is retired by the club as well. So
which is that's probably one of the biggest honors. I mean, no one in my time has ever worn that number out of respect for him, which is.
I used to go and watch the Whitecaps during their Empire days. He'd sneak in. I read an article that he would sneak in to watch them under the fence, and then when the game was finished, him and his friends would go onto the pitch to have a kickabout as well. And he was one of the first 2 players to sign for the Vancouver 86ers as well.
Okay.
And he scored in their first ever game. So, I mean, his name is all over Vancouver soccer history, Canadian soccer history. He's the player that scored the most goals, as you mentioned, ever in Canada. The only 2 players in North America that have scored more, Giorgio Chinaglia. 193 in the NASL for the Cosmos. And Chris Wondolowski has 182 across all competitions and all clubs and stuff as well. So when you're talking about those 2 prolific players and Dominic Mobilio being up there, I mean, I didn't think we would ever see anybody challenging those numbers, and I still don't think we will. But when you look at Brian White, what he's done in the last couple of years to get to second, I mean, another 5 seasons where he's like doing 15 to 20 goals. You
Yeah, you
never
never know.
know.
You never know. It's true.
In some ways, it would be sad though, because he's such an icon
Yeah.
that you don't want that name to disappear from folks' memories. And it's nice that Brian's doing this because everyone is still talking about Dominic, because it's always,
Yeah.
oh, he's behind Dominic Mobilio, he's behind Dominic Mobilio. But that's a fantastic selection for him.
Wasn't one of the most artistic things we ever created, but it actually was. I think you know this, but
Mm.
it was inspired by Steve. The visual display we did to honor him. Yeah, it was. So it's a longer story. I don't know if I've told you all this before, but it's a longer story. But Steve had this idea of could there be a tifo where like Dom's like shooting and then you have all these balls like come out, like 170 balls to represent his 170 goals. And so it's yeah, it definitely didn't come off the way I think Steve envisioned it in his mind. But we made this basically giant, like whatever, 15, 20 foot tall two stick of Mobilio. And it's again not the most artistic thing we ever we ever made by any stretch. But then we cut a hole in it and we blew 170 yellow like plastic soccer footballs through it.
I remember
Uh,
that.
yeah,
There's going to be photos somewhere in the AFTN archive of it as
yeah.
well. I'll dig that out and I'll put them out on social media. Because I put some photos out this week for a trip to Portland in 2013, and folk loved that. So I've got a lot
Mm,
of these old photos I'll dig out. So I'll have that one somewhere as well. I'm going to give my notable honourable mention first,
hmm Do you want
because
me to give my one honorable mention?
no,
Okay.
in case it's one of these as well.
Oh yeah,
So my
sorry.
honourable mention is going to be Jesse Marsh,
Oh, that's a
just
nice one.
because he's not done enough to get into the A to Z and Canadian history yet.
Yeah,
Hopefully he does. He was only appointed in May 2024. And like on the pitch, if we're being honest, it's been a bit of a mixed bag so far, because he took us to the semis of Copa America in 2024, but then they kind of didn't rise to the occasion last year in either the Nations League or the Gold Cup. But 13 wins, 10 draws, 5 defeats so far for Marsh under his Canadian tutelage. Now, if he goes and gets Canada through the group stage and goes on a run at next year's World Cup, very worthy then of being talked about in the A to Z. But
oh yeah.
my actual entry, which I wanted Dominic Mobilio as my first choice, this was my second choice. Dale Mitchell, a Vancouverite, played at the 86 World Cup for Canada, and then became the head coach of the national team for a couple of years in 2007 to 2009. Didn't get them to qualify for the World Cup in South Africa, but Canada was apparently in a group of death, which I have vague memories of because I was just here at the time. But as a player, 19 goals and 55 appearances for Canada, and he's still the joint fourth highest scorer for the national team. He played against Russia in Mexico at the
hmm
1986 World Cup.
Yeah.
He was also with the Whitecaps in the NASL in 77 and 78, but then left for Portland in 79, so missed the Soccer Bowl winning season, but came back to play for the 86ers in the CSL, so he would have played alongside Dominic Mobilio as well,
hmm
and then took over as the 86er stroke Whitecaps head coach from Carol Valentine. So he's another player that's his fingers are all over the national team and Vancouver soccer as well. So he's my aim.
I don't know him as a player at all. I never watched, never saw him like play. Obviously, personally, I didn't like him as a coach. Like my experiences of that are the U20 World Cup, and then after that with the national team. I really
Didn't hit the dizzy heights.
did not. I'll tell you stories later, but yeah, I just didn't rate him, and I don't think he did well in those roles. But nonetheless, I agree with you. He is an icon of Canadian football, and yeah, definitely worthy of being a part of this list.
Who's your notable
My
mention?
other one is again even more localized than even any of our people who listening to this like in other parts of Canada will be like, wait, who? But just yeah, notable mention, I can't not mention David Morris. Um, do you remember Dave, right?
I know I dreamt of a whole team
There you
of
go.
this guy that I didn't know who he was.
Yeah. No, David Morris is a local dude who yeah was yeah just he was he was the kind of player like I think there was one season where I feel like I saw him play every position except for keeper. Like played in defense, played in midfield, played up top. But he scored a bunch of iconic goals for the Whitecaps back in the day. I think in like playoffs or like uh end of season games or whatever. But yeah, he was just like so clutch and so, a part of so many kind of big moments, and also just really personable. And so yeah, I got to know him over the years of the USL kind of era of things, and yeah, he played like 175 games for the Whitecaps between 2000 and 2007. Only scored 13 goals, but I feel like every one of his goals was like a massive goal for the club. Yeah, I don't know. He's a dude I got to know during that time, and then have stayed in touch and have connected with a bunch. He was at the Voyageurs Cup final this year. Came over, said hi. He's been out to games at Willoughby and come over and said hi. And
That's nice.
he's a quality dude away from the pitch, and but was also a big part of that era in 2000 to 2007 for Whitecaps. He also kind of got the short end of the stick and never really got the opportunity to be a part of Tater's side when Tater came in 2008. I think had he been afforded the kind of the right opportunity, I think he would have been able to be a part of that championship year in the same way he was in 2006 when they won the USL title. But anyways, notable mention or honorable mention from me to a legend that is the legend that is David Morris.
I would have done Montreal teams because we did Edmonton
Yeah,
teams before, but we did Impact for me.
yeah,
And for me, that's the main Montreal
yeah,
team. Montreal Manic
yeah.
and
That's what I was thinking of
yeah, a
mostly.
double M, but they were very short-lived. Didn't really do very much either, but it is a name that just conjures up a certain era as well. So let us know if there's an M that we have missed out. Obviously, myself and Zach, we're both M's, but I don't think we're quite in the A to Z Hall of Fame just yet. Maybe once we hit episode 1,000 and then get cancelled. But yeah, we'll be back next week with the letter N. Wonder who we'll have for that. So that was this week's Canadian Soccer A to Z. Just delaying the sad inevitability, though, Zach, because we have to talk Whitecaps now. And the two Whitecaps matches, 2 defeats. It's rare that we have to talk about one defeat, it feels, these days with the Whitecaps, never mind back-to-back defeats. But yet, here we are. For the rest of this part, we will look back on Wednesday night's loss in Spokane against Seattle Sounders. Now, we're not going to delve loads into the game. It's over. The Champions Cup dream is now over for another year. And it was a disappointing defeat in the end for a few reasons. I think performance-wise, they did well. They controlled the play. They were the better team. They just couldn't find a way through the low block that the Sounders had put out there, which is not the last time we'll use that phrase over the course of this show. But you've lost to an MLS club as well, which is disappointing, and a rival, which is even more disappointing. But got to say off the bat, over the 2 legs, Seattle were the better team, and they deserve to go through.
Yeah, I concur with all of that. I think it's extremely disappointing, and I feel like, yeah, like you said earlier, it's a strange week for Whitecaps fans. They haven't had a week like had last year. They had some difficult defeats to deal with, but it feels like not some so close together, right? Because really,
Yeah, and
I mean,
it feels like 2 big ones as well.
yeah, and it's 3 out of 4.
Well,
And
that's the thing as well.
I know that
3 out
one
of
was
4,
the
and
one was a really good one, but
2 of those 3 defeats, they weren't able to score. and they were both at
Yeah.
BC Place. And we
Yes.
spoke that last year there was only one game at BC Place that they didn't score in. And now we've had 2 defeats at BC Place and 2 games that we didn't score in.
Yeah.
So there's that
But you're not
element as well.
but you're not wrong. Like Seattle was deserved winners. You're not
Yeah.
wrong that it's frustrating to go out in this competition to an MLS side. You just have to hope that the Whitecaps are able to dust themselves off. And we'll talk about the immediate aftermath against obviously San Jose shortly, but in general, dust themselves off and this is, spur them on in going forward and accomplishing some of the things they didn't last year, whether that's the, obviously MLS Cup, but maybe Supporter Shield first, then MLS Cup, and be able to just kind of focus on those things, as well as obviously the Canadian Championship for the Voyageurs Cup and things like the Cascadia Cup, and the one I forgot about that you reminded me of earlier this week, the Leagues Cup.
Everyone forgets about that. The game in Spokane, I think what was just so gutting about it is because of how this team has been, I genuinely went into it thinking, I think they can do this. And then they get the goal, a fantastic goal as well, 24 minutes in from Jeevan Badwal, it's got to be said. Great finish, helped into the net by Stephen Fry a little bit as well, but he took it well. And you're thinking 24 minutes gone, there's over an hour to go. I think we can do this. We've got to get the second goal, put Seattle under pressure, but that second goal just never came.
Yeah, absolutely. It was like the game started so well for the Whitecaps, almost perfectly.
Well, first minute didn't.
Well, yeah,
Rusnak
yeah.
missed that open
That
goal
was
42 seconds in.
True.
Which if that had gone in, I'd have been like, just put this on in the background, I think now.
Yeah, true. But yeah, overall started really well. The goal was, taken well from Jeevan. Fry gives a hand to it, but it's still a good goal. And then there's was next the shout for the penalty?
Yeah,
That was in the first half, right?
But before the goal, AZ went down the box and he got a yellow card for embellishment. Now, watching it back, there is contact. Was it instigated by AZ? That's what I feel the officials have felt.
But
it's not a booking for me no matter what, because he didn't dive.
Well, it's a booking because the referee thought he was embellishing or simulating a foul, but when you watch it back, it's clearly not. And I don't know that he initiates the contact so much. To me, it looks like his leg gets caught by the other guy's leg or knee or whatever body, and there's VAR in this competition. I mean, I don't think Whitecaps fans. It would be offside for them to feel hard done by that call, because I think there's a reasonable case where that's given as a penalty, and if they score that goal, I think that game ends very, very differently.
Yeah, it was so early, and then I mean we don't know if Jeevan's goal would then have come as well or not, but it's like you've got even longer to try and push, and getting that early breakthrough, Seattle would have been really concerned about what was going to happen in this game, and it would have taken the crowd out of it early. It also meant, because AC got booked, he had to get taken off at half time. That was something that Jesper spoke about post game. That's why he had to make the switch. He just couldn't risk it, so it affected that as well. Matty Laborda had been booked 5 minutes in for a yellow that he had to do, because otherwise Di Rosario was going to be in and goal. So it's one of those things. Yeah, I know I'm going to get booked, but it's either that or he's in on the keeper. So you kind of had to take that. But when it went to 1-0, I was like, gonna do this. Messaged my friend Rose in Toronto going, hey, I'm probably going to have a stopover next month in Toronto on my way to Cincinnati. We can maybe meet up. As it would have turned out, we wouldn't have been going to Cincinnati either, but we'll come to that in a sec. But then a big game-changing moment. Kubis goes down off the ball. It's a quad injury, and we all know when Kubis is not on the pitch, the Whitecaps are not the same. You saw how good they were returning to the lineup after suspension. We know how much we missed him in the first game. The update on Kubis is it's going to be around 4 weeks that he's going to be missing. Now, Jordan Morris had a quad injury in the first game of the year, and he returned today. So you are looking 4 to 5 weeks. The international break helps. Not for Kubis, who's now going to miss going away with Paraguay in their last getting the group together before the World Cup. So that's also like devastating. But it was such a big blow, and it felt that it was one that they just didn't really recover from as well.
Again, yeah, I totally agree. Some players just have that presence about them, right? That they just change, not even how you play, but just give you that confidence. And when he's there, it feels like they play more confidently going forward. And they lost that a little bit without him there, even though the occasion was still huge. You had other players obviously on the pitch to help give them some of that confidence, but it's not quite the same.
No,
It is a little bit
Seattle
sad.
weren't doing much at that point.
No.
It has to be said either. Whitecaps
No.
had dominated possession, and it continued in the second half. But then as they're pushing, looking for the second, they're leaving themselves short at the back, and that's when you need a Kubis back there.
Yeah, and that's where like score effect comes in. It was like score effect plus the Kubis effect.
Yep.
Doubly played against the Whitecaps and how the second half played out.
They just couldn't find a way through Seattle's low block. I thought Seattle defended superbly in this. I think teams will watch this, and I think San Jose, as we'll talk about in the next part, would have watched this as well and thought this is a way to try and frustrate them, because they are struggling to break teams down in this regard, which we'll come to in the next part. Thomas Mueller, I thought some of his passes, I thought he was trying to be too cute with them, and it was just the little neat interplays, all the stuff that was kind of coming off last year for the Whitecaps. Seattle was just mopping it all up, breaking everything up. Sabi had a shout for a penalty that I don't think was as good as the one for Easy in the first half. But as the minutes were ticking down, they had to open up. They left themselves short at the back, and 2 goals in 4 minutes from Seattle killed the tie off. Mazowski in the 79th, Paul Rothrock in the 83rd. Even to come away from this second leg with a win would have been just something a little bit small consolation, really, but it would have felt better. But to go down to 2-1 defeat, 5-1 in aggregate, it just felt like a battering in the end when you look at that.
Yeah, and it's compounded by the fact that, as you said earlier, that it's Seattle.
Yeah.
Like, it just makes it like that much worse and harder to swallow. And I know it wasn't a huge contingent, but yeah, it's it would have been nice for those fans that did travel and were able to make it down there. It would have made it, nice to come away with a 1-0 or 2-0 victory and at least had some kind of moral victory, I guess. But yeah, ultimately, this is the first competition in a while for the Whitecaps where they've underperformed and haven't met expectations.
Well, they made the finals of every tournament they were in last year.
Exactly. So, like you said, it's a newish experience for Whitecaps fans, or at least the long-suffering Whitecaps fans, the long-time Whitecaps fans. Maybe those who joined in on things last year. This is a strange feeling for them. But yeah,
it's football though. It's like we've had so many managers here over the years that have said we don't get too high with the highs, we don't get too low with the lows. Supporters, on the other hand, and podcasters, me in particular, it's hard not to get high with the highs and feel low with the lows. It just goes with the territory of being a football supporter, really. Jesper was very gracious in defeat after the game, praised Seattle, how they played. I think other coaches around MLS could learn a few things from Jesper about how to be gracious in defeat, because some of them most certainly are not. Spokana's a venue. I think it worked really well. We were speaking to Bob Lenarduzzi before the game on Saturday, and he was saying he thought it was an excellent venue. The crowd were really there. They're building good things. It's going to help grow the Sounders fan base more, but by getting out there, Sounders himself spoke about they'd like to get out there for more games. It might be more friendlies than competitive games, because the next round is getting played at Lumen Field, so they're definitely not going back there. But I thought it was a good little venue. I didn't like the TV camera angle.
I knew you were going to say that.
Although it did make me think that is what the view of some of the World Cup matches are going to be with the Category 3 tickets. So I should maybe get used to that.
Hey man, I'm going to be on that bleacher in Toronto at the very top of the back.
Maud Flanders Part 2. That's all I'm saying. Don't try and catch a t-shirt. But that camera angle it made it so hard to watch the game. That's my only complaint about it. The general feeling was everyone loved it because you were so close to the action.
Yeah.
Whereas like Lumen Field, it's like BC Place. It's just a vast stadium and you're away from it. And like we've got Swan Guard and I wouldn't mind seeing cup games switch to Swan Guard if you're not going to get good crowds, get some bleachers in as well.
It was interesting in that casual conversation with Bobby before the San Jose match where he's just like, yeah, if we go there, what do we do? Do we have a lottery for our fans to see who gets in or whatever? And it's like, that's sort of like, when we, talking to Flo, that's what it's like for some, big match or big away matches or, big, or finals or whatever, right? You, as a fan, you're a member of the club, you're in a lottery to get those tickets and it's based on, longevity and all these different things.
And
but
if it's games that aren't included in the season ticket package as well, it makes it easier. To do that. Obviously, it's a shame that folk miss out. When you're getting 12,000 in for a big game, it's like, well, if you got added bleachers, could get 10 at Swan Guard, say.
But what's those costs of the added bleachers?
That's the thing as well. And
this is
obviously, we've got our steps to think about. We don't want to be taking backward steps.
No, yeah. This would be one of the questions I'd love to hear from like our regular listeners. Like, if you had the choice next year, and the Whitecaps are in a similar situation. Obviously, there's no World Cup to deal with or whatever. But let's say the Whitecaps are in that first round, or maybe the first round, second round, whatever. They have a game in the CONCACAF Champions Cup, and the Whitecaps. Would you like the Whitecaps to have it at a smaller venue where it's going to be jam packed full of people? Or would you rather be at BC Place as normal because of, well, one, you'll be inside, two, it's just that's where you're used to and that's what you like, or you like your seat there or their space there or whatever. What would people prefer? Because I think it would be really unique if they went to Swangard or they went to Willoughby or something like that for one of those games.
Yeah, well, the Sounders used to do their US Open Cup games at Starfire.
Exactly.
It was intimate, you're close to the action, and I love that.
It had a different vibe.
Yeah. Yeah,
and even engage some different people.
Yeah,
but yeah, if you're listening, you regularly go to games. What would you prefer? Let us know.
We won't delve into all the other Champion Cup games because who cares about that competition now? We're out of it. It's all about the league now. Stupid cup competition. Just focus on the league. But I expected us to be playing Cincinnati in the next round, but they collapsed at Tigres, and they went in with a 3-goal lead. Just into the second half, Tigres had wiped that out. And then from nowhere, after doing nothing for the whole game, Denke scores for Cincinnati. They've got the crucial away goal. They're leading on aggregate. And you're like, oh boy, this is all up in the air now. But then Tigres get the goal that they needed and got through in the end, but they left it tight. But that was another great atmosphere as well. And I'm glad it's Tigres now since it's not us, because that's going to be a tougher game for Seattle.
Yeah. I have a buddy who's a Tigres fan, and very pleased. You can never count them out. They're so good.
They just went for it, and Cincinnati had no answer.
Did Flores play? That's the one thing I can't remember from the highlights.
Do you know? I don't know. I don't think he did. I don't remember hearing him. LAFC squeaked through. Stoppage time winner down in Costa Rica. Well, it looked like it was going to extra time. It was gutted for Alain Lorenzi.
I really enjoy. I mean, I'm biased. I like the Costa Rican League. Having been to games down there. I like the country and I like the football, and it's been good to see their sides take the MLS clubs to the brink. The Whitecaps was a priest last year. Cartago this year wasn't. They weren't amazing, and so Whitecaps
they didn't want to try and shoot.
Yeah, but they didn't get blown out. They gave them a fight, and now Alajuelense, as much as they are the arch rivals of Saprissa, I'm happy that it was a really good tie against LAFC and again showed for the Costa Rican side and league really well. And I'm happy for Mark and all the Canadians and all the people at LAFC that they're going to advance, and they're a side that I think really they well now they got to be one of the they got to be the favorite like the favorite MLS side to win now. No, Miami's out.
Yeah, well, I was going to say it's not all bad news because Miami went out to Nashville. Oh, that
Yeah,
was so good. And the
yeah.
commentators were annoying me so much. It
Just
was
think,
like there was just one team on the pitch.
just think, it could have been Electrical Ottawa doing that.
Oh, when Nashville tied it up, it was like, oh, fantastic. So there was some good news about it all. But I'll still watch it. I do love the competition, despite what I said. We just have to make sure that we're in it again next year. And I think after the heroics last year, it feels just to go out so early. It's like, ah,
Yeah,
but it does mean, and although I was joking about concentrating on the league, it does mean now that we don't have any other distractions, whereas some of
yeah.
these other teams are going to have to try and do what we did last
Juggle.
year and juggle
Yeah.
everything. It didn't help us in the next league game, which we're going to come to now in the next part as we look at the second loss in 4 days, this time in MLS action to San Jose. And we'll be back with that after the first of 3 songs this episode from our Artists of the Month.
Hi, I'm Jeevan Barwa, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part, it's the first of 3 songs that we're going to bring you this episode from our Artists of the Month here at AFTN for March. From Thornliebank, Renfrewshire, just outside of Glasgow in Scotland. The band is Biss, and that was their 10th single that you heard there to kick off this part. Released on November 2nd, 1998, Eurodisco. And it gave the band their biggest hit, and it was a different sound for them as well. A less kind of bubblegum pop sound and more a fully fledged disco tune. It peaked at number 37 in the UK charts, number 27 in the Scottish charts, and was the first single to be taken from the band's second album, 1999's Social Dancing, an album that definitely saw the band explore a more rounded out sound. And we'll have 2 more songs from that album in this episode, 2 more singles from the band as well. So we're going to get back to the football chat now, and sadly we've got to talk about the second defeat for the Whitecaps this past week. Frustrating is my word of the day to describe this game. And there's a lot of things to be frustrated about. Like, I would say San Jose, like Seattle, defended well. So it was another game where they struggled to break down a team with a low block. And they need to find ways to do that now. And Jesper spoke post-game. It's something they'll work on in training. They'll get back to the drawing board because he knows teams are going to just try and play against them. They've seen what they did to Minnesota, so they don't want to leave themselves susceptible to that, especially at BC Place. So they're going to have to just somehow find a way through it. But that's easier said than done. Just overall thoughts on it. It was just frustrating. We'll get to the lineup in a sec, which was one of the other frustrating things. But just what did you make of the overall game?
Yeah, it felt like a little bit of like hangover, right, from the going out in the cup. Yeah, there was the changes in the lineup we'll get to. Right away you were like, oh, this is kind of a weird lineup. You know, I didn't feel that as strongly about it as you, but I don't think it's totally that San Jose was necessarily copying something that Seattle had done or whatever. It's really, I think, who San Jose has become this year. I mean, we talked earlier on, a couple weeks ago, how amazing the Whitecaps have been doing in terms of like not giving up good chances and just not conceding. Well, San Jose has one up them in that 5 league games, 1 goal against, right? Yeah. And Bruce Serena talked about last year, I forget what the number is, 63 or 67 goals they gave up last year. Like, they have improved as a team. And I mean, you're right. The way they played defensively against the Whitecaps really minimized the Whitecaps' quality chances. And the chances the Whitecaps did create, which we'll get to in a minute, they just couldn't finish. Or they made poor decisions and lost the better opportunity that they had in front of them. There were some bounces that definitely didn't go their way, and they concede a goal that kind of comes after a really great defensive play, and you're kind of just like left leaving a little bit bewildered. But again, I think you have to give full credit to San Jose, for whether you want to call it a smash and grab or just a really good.
Well, yeah, because I started my match report by saying it's not quite a smash and grab, but the goal did come against a run of play.
Yes.
And they were very much second best for much of the game, you could say, but ultimately they were best because they come out with a victory and they executed their game plan and they frustrated the Whitecaps and they kept them at bay. And there's positives from the Whitecaps' performance as well. We'll look at that. It's not all doom and gloom. The sky is not falling, which if you read some of the comments for the post-game show and some of the other stuff on Facebook and social media, you'd think it's the end of the world and it's like the team's on a bad run. It's like they lost to 2 very good teams.
Yeah.
I do put a lot of the blame on this, though, on the squad selection. And we know that Jesper likes to rotate, and he did it very well last year, especially with all the Champions Cup stuff going on. So the team does need to be rotated. The fringe players do need to get minutes. You have to get certain players that get starts because you don't know when you're going to call upon them, as we saw last year. So that all has to get done. What my argument would be, though, is you don't necessarily do it in a game like this, where it's one of the other top teams at the top of the West to start the season, and you've got an international break coming up as well. But then my flip side of that argument is maybe going out of the Champions Cup then has messed up some plans as to when they were going to rotate these players in. And it's like, well, we need to kind of get them in now, get a little bit of rest. I just don't think you need to do as much rotation as was done, particularly when you're missing Andrus Kubis. Because he's so key, if Kubis is out, for me, you can't drop Berhalter and give him rest in that game. Even if it was planned, you've got to keep him in there. You've got to keep one of that important double pivot.
Yeah.
And for me, Jesper hasn't made a lot of mistakes in his time here. I do feel this squad selection was one of them, though.
You and I talked about it before the game yesterday. I actually didn't mind Oliver Larraz and Gando kind
Yeah.
of getting this spot.
I'd have
The
had
start.
Larraz starting. I'd have had Larraz playing beside Berhalter.
Yeah, but that's the thing is I think part of the thinking my guess would be is that at some point we're going to need to play these two guys together this year. So let's take this opportunity while Kubas is out and Berhalter's not gassed or anything, but played a ton. And so let's have them go in this game. I think what you're saying though is a fair point in terms of yeah, you're eliminated from the competition, you're going into an international break. Yeah, maybe let's play Berhalter the one more time next to whether it's Larraz or Gando. I agree with you, probably would have been Larraz. But and I don't think they that's the other thing though. I don't think they performed
Yeah, they were
poorly.
not the worst performers
No.
on the night.
I
And
mean
like in Gando, I thought had a decent game for his first real minutes of the year. Larraz, I'm liking
more and more.
more and more that I see him.
To me, Ngando's biggest thing when I think about him in the game is not taking the chance that he had in the second
Yeah.
half.
I watched some of the game back tonight. I watched the 10-minute highlights.
Mhm.
And there's a couple of incidents we'll talk about that then weren't in the 10-minute highlights. So I had
Yeah.
to go and find it in the full replay to watch them back. But in Ganda's chance, I saw people saying, oh, I needed to lay it off. But then I looked at it back. There was no one he could have laid it off to because there was so many San Jose
Well,
players in the way
I
for him
think
to try and cut it back to anyone.
I think I said to you at the time, he needed to take it first time. He took
Yes,
a touch and then
I think it was that.
the defenders get in and block it. And that's where it's like, okay, yeah, he's not a striker. He's not like,
Yeah.
well, you know, he's trying to,
The
yeah,
finishing was poor all round, all night. There was
fair.
too many shots straight at the keeper. What I will say though is Daniel was phenomenal in goal.
Yes.
He was the San Jose player of the game. He didn't have tons to do, but he came up with some big stops, some important stops, and that he was really good for them as that their whole kind of defense really was. I didn't go to the post game. I just wanted to get home. I wasn't feeling too great, just with the allergies and stuff.
You missed out on a great one in
Yes,
the
well,
away.
we'll bring at the start of the next part your post game with Bruce Arena. That was a lot of fun. He's a different character when they've won a game. But the thing I was wondering was this was obviously probably planned. They know who's going to play each game, and they were going to maybe give Larraz and Ngando this game anyway. Was it planned and they just stuck with it, or did how Wednesday played out and how maybe Berhalter was feeling a little bit tired? Did that play into why those two played? But yeah, as you say, can't focus too much on them because they weren't the worst players. Berhalter and Mueller started on the bench, and they both came on in the second half. Tristan Blackman was back. AZ Jackson was in as the 10, and this was one of the other ones. I would rather have had him starting on the left and had Jeevan back in the 10 because I think Jeevan's done so well there. And he's a young guy, and I know he's been playing minutes, and maybe he is fatigued. We don't know what they're going through because I'm just looking at it. How can you not play 2 games in a week? It's easy to sit back and say that. But I would have way preferred AZ in the left with Badwell as the 10.
That was part of our pre-match conversation with Bobby Leonarduzzi. He was like, I'm
Yeah.
excited to see what he can do as a 10. And
Yeah.
I agreed with him, but then the way it played out, I agree with you. I would have rather had kind of Badwell in the middle and kept Jackson wide where he's shown already that he's, where his qualities are at, in terms, especially his desire to take players on one-on-one and get past them. I think that's easier to do, and you have more opportunities to do it when you're out wide.
Yep.
But I think Badwell, I think being in the middle, I think would have been my choices as well.
Because we got the start for Sabali as well, and he was okay. He was lively at least. There was an incident where there was a long ball forward. He was chasing it down. This was one of the ones that didn't make the highlights. And when we saw it live, we were like, oh, is that going to be a penalty? And then I saw folk afterwards saying, oh, it should have been dog so. So watched that back today. And for me, there's a little shove at the end, so I think it should have been a free kick. But if VAR's looking at that, I don't think it's a dogso challenge because I don't think he was necessarily in on goal and it was a clear goal scoring opportunity and it was outside the box.
That's
So
the one. I think it was more shoulder to shoulder, and I think
it was
a
shoulder
fair
to
chunk.
shoulder to start with, but then there's a little shove at the end of
Yeah,
it. So to me, I think a free kick would have been given, but VAR's not going to review that and give a free kick, or
no,
it shouldn't because that's not what they're meant to be doing. I have seen it happen, but it's not what they're meant to be doing.
no.
I mean, there was few chances in the first half, but slowly the Whitecaps were starting to turn the screw a little bit. Danielle kept out a shot from AZ, and then a White header. White had a couple of headers in the first half, but they were all straight at the keeper.
Yeah,
And he got onto them well. Although actually his second one did produce a really good acrobatic save, so it wasn't straight at the keeper, but Danielle got to it. He needs to have better placement there.
yeah.
San Jose had a chance to open the score in the 33rd minute, but there was a last-ditch poke away, which during the game I thought was from Priso. Watching it back, I saw it was Ocampo that just did enough to get a boot in to block and it went for the corner. And it looked like the teams were going in at the half scoreless, but then the only goal of the game, the winner comes 2 minutes into the 1 minute of time added on.
Yeah.
And I did see people rightly make the point, why did they let the corner get taken? Because we've had games where we've not had a chance to take a corner because the time's up, and you see it all over the place, and it's maybe just sour grapes because obviously they scored from it.
Yeah. I'm not saying rightly or wrongly, but again, that's totally at the rest discretion.
It is.
Yeah. And that was the play. The play only the corner was only happened right because that was one of the great blocks by Priso. In
Yeah,
this game,
Priso leg out, great block, turned it away for the corner.
which for me is another sign of his earning his spot in the national team next week.
Yeah, I think so as well. I mean, depends who's fit. We'll talk a little bit about that. We hope to bring out an extra podcast this week, which will cover some of that stuff in it. But he should definitely get a chance to play again. Jesse Marsh has said he's not sure he'll start, but he might start one of the games. But we'll definitely see him. And he's had a great start to the year. That block, Yohei Takaoka was like giving him credit for it as well. But I do wonder on that block, like if Yohei said, "Oh, it's my ball, just leave it," and it would have gone straight through to him. Risky to do, because if it doesn't work, you look stupid for leaving it.
Yeah.
But then it raises the question of communication again, because from the corner, it's played to the back of the box, it's headed in. Ralph goes up to try and get to it, but doesn't connect. And then Yohei tries to like grab it out of the air and doesn't get it. So again, for me, Yohei needs to be better communicating there, going, my ball, and it'll get left for him. He collects it, the half's over. But it goes through his hands, and then Sabi gets a clearance. I saw folk piling on Sabi for it not being a good clearance. He got enough on it to clear it for me, and it went to Sabali.
Yeah.
Sabali, there's not much to him. And he was so easily outmuscled off the ball by Bo LaRue. And it was a great strike. Yeah. And Bruce Arena says he only scores bangers like that.
Well, and he scored one against the Whitecaps last year, right?
I don't know. Did he score one like that? He scored a couple of goals last year.
I'm pretty sure it was one of the questions in the postgame, or one of the people said, "Oh, you love to score against the Whitecaps," and he's like,
"Oh,
yeah." They referenced his goal against them last year, even though I think it was the Whitecaps destroyed them. He scored a nice goal.
It was a brilliantly taken goal.
Yeah, and you can't like it. I don't fault Yohei on this one. It was I don't think there's anything he could do.
Oh no, he couldn't keep that out. The pace that left the boot into the back of net. What I will say is the Whitecaps have only given up 2 goals in the league all year, and they've both been long-range strikes that Takaoka's had no chance to get onto.
Yep.
So that's a positive. The only goals they've given up are defensive mistakes in the Champions Cup, or when they've opened up to try and get more goals, or shots from distance. So there's positives to take there. And as I said, it wasn't quite a smash and grab, but you went in at the break going, how are they ahead? They don't deserve to be ahead. Level would have been fair. Whitecaps, if they'd taken one of their chances, should have gone in with the leads, but coulda, shoulda, woulda. I still felt they were going to do it in the second half.
Oh, absolutely. It had the feeling of, even like I had the feeling, the game against Seattle, the home game against Seattle, where like, no, they're going to come back from this. They're going to come back from this. They're absolutely going to score. 100% they're going to score. And it was just so weird to see it kind of fizzle out the way it did.
And it totally did fizzle out, because from the midway point of the half to stoppage time, I wrote nothing in terms of Whitecaps' chances. And it's like, wow, you're pushing
that
for the game.
Did that include the Gando block chance?
That was before. Before like the midway point. I mean, Thomas Mueller comes on at the half, and he's just looking a little out of sorts. I noticed it in the Portland game, not as much in the Minnesota game, but he wasn't on the pitch for too long in that. But his passing seems off. He's either over hitting them or under hitting the passes.
And he came on for Sabali, right? Which then put Jackson back on the wing.
It put Jackson then on the wing.
Which again, I thought in that opening spell he looked better.
Yeah.
But yeah, Thomas, you're right. It's not so much, the weight of the passes. It's not necessarily the range. It does maybe seem a little bit off, and he's still
directing the game, and he's still telling the players where to go, and he's getting into space, and then sometimes the ball's not coming to him in the space.
Yeah, but it's like, you're right though. It's the decisive moment. The decisive pass is not quite there or working for him, or they're not finding him when he's kind of in an open spot.
Yeah, but then he, with his passes, like I mentioned in the Seattle second leg, he's trying some neat inside passes, but because there's so many defenders around him, they're just snuffing it out and breaking it up. Now, there was a penalty shout at the start of the second half, 57th, 58th minute. Sabi gets brought down. It's given as a corner because the defender does get to the ball and pokes it away. Sabi then kind of gets caught in the aftermath, but the ball was away by that point. So I'm thinking they've looked at it and thought he wasn't going to get on the ball. Ball had been won and it had been put out, and it was contact after the play. Now, we've all seen penalties given for that.
Yeah.
We've all seen penalties not given for that. I genuinely don't know what penalty rules are anymore, having seen games today as well, that you're left going, I don't know what a handball is anymore. I don't know what's not. I don't know what a tackle is for a penalty. I don't know. So I could see it given. I could see it not given. It's not clear and obvious, I think, to overturn it. But at the time, live, when I first saw it, I thought, no. Then I saw the first replay and I was like, oh, I think it is. And then I was a little surprised that it wasn't given, but I can see why it wasn't.
Yeah, live I thought it was. Then we saw the replay there, and I was like, that definitely should be at least looked at. And I mean, obviously they look at everything.
Yeah.
But they didn't deem it sufficient enough or clear and obvious enough to have the match official actually look at it and make a re-ruling or an affirmation. But it is I don't think it's definitely not the most heinous call that's gone against the Whitecaps when it comes to penalties or VAR or whatever. But it is one that, I think Caps fans will hold a grudge over.
Oh, yeah. He's had a lot of hate on the socials this weekend. I mean, that's not why they lost. They lost because they couldn't take their chances.
Yeah.
And like White, there's like a great move in the second half. Blackman sends the ball in. Priso chests it down superbly into White. And it's just a weak shot straight at the keeper again. And you just need White to be better in that situation. Cabrera had a curler late on that I thought was curling in, but you were 2 seats down and you could see, no, it's going wide.
Oh,
My
yeah.
angle, I was like, oh, that's top corner.
You're like, I thought it was going in. I was just like, dude, where I'm sitting 2 seats over, you could tell the bend wasn't there to find its way in.
But it was just disappointing because, like, you've used the best word for it. It just fizzled out.
Mm-hmm.
And San Jose comfortably kind of saw it out in the end. So some positives from some of the players, like Gherasimencov got his second straight start. He looked good out there.
Yep.
Looks like he belongs. I say that several times in part 4 when we're talking about, when we sit down to chat with him as well. But he does look like he belongs out there. And I'm very comfortable with the defensive rotation that we've got. Larraz, as mentioned, liking it more every time I see him. And Gando wasn't horrible. He's not the Ngando from earlier last year that was like blowing us away, but he's needing to get more minutes. And then it's like the chicken and the egg thing. It's like, well, you want them to get more minutes, but you don't want to change it with everything and stuff as well. I think looking at the negatives, when Berhalter's not on the pitch, I've no faith in our set pieces at all. Free kicks particular, it's like I just don't feel the deliveries there from people at the free kicks that's anywhere near Berhalter level.
Yeah, that's fair.
Also, when Laborda's not on the pitch to get onto the free kicks, you're really noticing that as well.
Yeah, because Laborda is not just like a dangerous in terms of a target. He is great at popping up at the back post and then putting it back across goal for someone else to tap in, and we're just really good football IQ in those moments. So yeah, he was missed in that sense.
Sabi sung his praises last week. I did feel that he tried to do too much this game. He needs to not try and go past everyone and then try and get a shot off. Like first half, he was good. He was looking up. He was making passes. He was laying it off. Second half, it just felt he was like, this isn't happening. I need to go through all these players. And it just didn't come off for him. He needs to be more aware and stop feeling that he's the guy that has to go past them all. Sabali, still not overly convinced he's MLS starting level, but we'll see how that goes. He currently can't play in the US, which is why he didn't feature in that Seattle game on Wednesday night. He's got his Canadian visa, but he's still waiting for his US visa. And the Whitecaps are confident it's coming very soon before the next away game, because we don't have one until May, so they don't think it's going to be an issue. I did wonder at the time, though, with him being Senegalese, and that is one of the countries that their nationals are not allowed in the US, if that was going to cause any issues. So hopefully it's not. AZ, as we touched upon, I think it's better out wide and as a 10. I think Brian White does need a bit more help. There was times he just had no one to lay the ball off to, or he's surrounded by 2 or 3 players. But he does need to be better with where he's shooting as well. But in the grand scheme of things, first loss of the year in league play. Still just the 2 goals given up, both long ranges, as I mentioned. It hurts because I think they should be 5-0, and it was at home. I was quite confident we were going to get 9 wins and a draw, was my prediction from these first 10 games. But they've set the bar so high, I think, which is great now, that anything that doesn't come off you feel really kind of down about. But bar a superb strike, they would have had a point out of this, so that there's that as well. So no need to hit the panic stations, but we do have to find a way to play without Kubis, and we do have to find a way to get through this low block. I'd like to see another attacking piece added, whether it's a winger, whether it's a striker. I just feel we need something else in there. But we will have Ryan Gold back, that's hopefully.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Can you remind me of like what's his expected return date? Because in all this talk about low blocks and breaking teams down and all that kind of stuff, I mean, he is someone who can help you do that.
He is someone who can. The target was April. There's no guarantee that when he comes back that he's going to be right at match fitness to get in as well. We might just see him for like 10 minutes at a time for the first few games.
No, but
I don't think we see him as a starter till May.
No, that's fine, because even in a game like this, he would have been great, a great help for 10, 15 minutes at the end.
Against a tired defence that's been defending. San Jose came to BC Place, and basically did what Seattle did to them the week before.
Mm-hmm.
I know that was one of the questions in the post game, and Bruce Arena didn't feel it was the same, but San Jose had Seattle under the cosh in the second half of the game last week and just couldn't get their way through. And it was kind of reverse of that in this. It is what it is. It's disappointing. You just dust yourself down, move on. They've got time to get everyone healthy, rest, work on a few things now before the next game. And it's Portland that are coming to town again. Second meeting already this year in the first game in April. They had a tough game this afternoon. We'll be back chatting about that, rounding up the rest of the MLS West action and hearing from Bruce Arena after that win for the Quakes at BC Place, after the second of our 3 songs this episode from our Artists of the Month.
Hi, I'm Oliver LaRose, and you are listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Late 1990s into the 21st century, the idols of press darlings are the faceless DJs. That's not to say that I'm not a techno disco lover. I keep it undercover. I just want the personality. Give me action and drama. I'm supposed to be. Give me 80s. I just want the personality. Give me action and drama. I'm meant to be. Give me club tropicana. I'm no pro retro, no all. I want faces for the future. I'd like my idols human, not programmed in computer. Pop music's not gonna die, it just has no direction. We need a plan of action. I just want the personality. Give me action and drama. I'm supposed to be. Give me 80s. I just want the personality. Give me action and drama. I'm meant to be. Give me club tropicana. Give me action and drama. I'm supposed to be. Give me 80s. I just want the personality. Give me action and drama. I'm meant to be. Give me club tropicana.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part, it's the second of 3 songs this episode from our Artists of the Month. For March, it's Scottish band Biss, and that was their 11th single, released on February 15th, 1999, Action and Drama. And it was the second single to be taken from their second album, 1999 Social Dancing. It reached number 50 in the UK charts, and it's funny listening back to it because it's a song from the 90s, the late 90s, looking back fondly on the 1980s. Both decades which feel so long ago now and make me feel so old, thinking how many years ago that actually was. And I'm aware that there's going to be a number of people listening to this podcast that weren't even born when this song was released in 1999. So I'll just let that sink in for a little bit and get a little bit more sad. But we'll get back to the football chat now, and back talking a little bit more about the Whitecaps San Jose game on Saturday evening. Don't really want to, but we've got the audio to bring you from the San Jose side, so I'll bring you that now. Some post-game thoughts from Quakes head coach Bruce Arena. Not his usual grumpy self. It's amazing how 3 points can change your whole demeanour in these post-game chats. Kind of going back to what I was saying about Jesper's graciousness in defeat in part 1. But yes, Bruce Arena was fairly happy after that game on Saturday. So hear some of his post-game thoughts with questions from Har, Manuel Veth, and our very own Zach.
Earthquake! Earthquake!
Bruce San Jose is the first team to come in here and take full points off the Whitecaps. Your thoughts on the match and the way that your team played and hung on for the victory?
Well, certainly, we scored a good goal in the first half, and I think our goalkeeper made a good save in the first half as well to let us going ahead at the halftime. But listen, Vancouver is a very good team. They're coming off a very difficult schedule. We might have had an edge physically tonight because of their congested schedule, but I'm not taking any credit away from our players. We played here last year and we're embarrassed. So we're making a lot of progress as a team. Obviously, there's a lot of games left to play in 2026. So we're not having any parades in downtown San Jose. We're a team that wants to be better, get better, and try to qualify for the playoffs. So that's our goal this year. And obviously, Vancouver has greater aspirations than we do. But they're a very good team, and it was obviously a very good win for our team.
What has Timo Werner brought to your team, and what has he shown in this trip so far?
Leadership. He had some back pain yesterday, and that's why he didn't start the game today. And he wasn't at 100% on the field tonight. But his leadership, his technical ability, his experience is outstanding. And in another month or so, he's going to be a really good player in our league.
I'm going to jump onto that question today. As you mentioned, you can see him a couple of times holding his back.
Yeah.
I guess that's the main reason why he didn't really look like he was really well integrated in the system.
And maybe that's my fault for having him play 30 minutes, maybe 35 minutes. Maybe that's a mistake of the coach. I know the player wanted to play, but sometimes the coach has to be a little bit smarter. Maybe I wasn't.
How do you see his progression so far, other than what?
It's been good. He's fitting great. He's doing great. We're very fortunate to have him in San Jose, and I know he's going to be a great addition to the team this year.
Thank you.
What's that?
Two questions, Bruce. Your goal today came from a wonderful strike from Bo LaRue. I wonder if you could speak to his quality and the goal itself.
Oddly enough, that's a typical Bo LaRue goal. A lot of his goals look like that. He's very good finishing from outside the penalty area. That was probably 20 yards out tonight. I didn't see it on tape, but Bo scored probably 3 or 4 goals like that last year. So he's a good young player. It's his second year in the league, and he's making progress. And the same thing with Nico, who played tonight, another good 90 minutes. So our young players are coming through, and hopefully they can continue to move forward.
So the goal won you the match, but one of the things that has been so crucial for you this year, as you aspire to make the playoffs and hopefully do more than that, is how your side has played defensively. You've only led 1 goal in the five games.
I think 63 goals last year, and probably had on the year last year maybe 4 or 5 shutouts. I don't even know. I never get a stat sheet at home, so I wouldn't know. But we have 4 already this year, so that's a real positive, and that's not the result of just our backline and goalkeeper. Our entire team has a good mentality when our opponents are in possession.
Bruce, what do you think it says as a whole for the league when you have stars like Marco Reus, Timo Werner, and Thomas Muller coming to MLS and showcasing their talents?
Yeah, it's great, and I think the German players are great additions to our league. They're bright guys, they're articulate, they're bilingual, they understand what they're getting into, so they're really great additions to our team. And I think we're going to see after the World Cup, there are going to be players from all over the world that want to play in Major League Soccer.
What did you make of the pitch tonight? Because you never liked it here.
How do you say that?
Because you used to come here with the Galaxy, and you weren't a fan of the pitch back then either.
Well, I'm probably one of 10 million people would say the same thing. When are they going to put the grass in here for the World Cup?
Maybe another month?
But they're not going to keep it.
No, they're not keeping it in.
Well, I know you can't because of obviously a variety of issues here. It's for the most part, everyone would prefer to, and the Vancouver players would say the same, prefer to play in a grass field. But both teams are playing on the field. No one has an advantage.
Do you think the injury tonight was because of the pitch?
The what?
The injury tonight.
Whoever knows, these things.
So Bruce Arena there, as cock a hoop maybe as Bruce Arena gets to be, and joking about the BC Place turf at the end. That when Har messaged me and went, oh, he was talking about the turf, I'll send you the audio. Went, oh, I've already got it from Zach. I didn't think they would put the audio up in their official
video
as well, but it was hilarious. He was just laughing about it. 10 million people hate that turf.
Well, he said even the Whitecaps players would prefer to play on grass, which is common sense and understandable. It was really interesting because
I warned you.
For years have you been like, hey, just, whenever if ever you're, doing a post game with Bruce Arena, he might be a little snarly or grumpy or
even when they've won.
Yeah. And it was not like that at all. We were waiting outside the locker room, and right away I was just like, oh, this is different. I mean, obviously, Seattle had won the CCC game the week before, less than a week before, but it wasn't like this. But man, as I was walking towards the locker room, I was like, what's that noise? What's that noise? And I get up, and dude, I think it was Freebird. They had to just blast.
Well, the start of the scrum, the audio that I've just played, it's really loud at the start when Har's asking her questions.
Yeah, it was, because the door was.
If we get a copyright strike, they'll think we've been playing the song.
Anyways, it was, and then Bruce Arena, we get in, and Bruce Arena comes in with a Molson Canadian. It was just a different vibe, and he was very happy, and he was very, I don't know, it was fun. It was good. He was very open and very honest, and in a good mood. He took our questions well. He took the questions, online from San Jose really well. Obviously,
he's turned the team around this year. I mean, I will give him kudos because I thought his time had come and gone in MLS, and the way the team played last year, I thought that was a good team, and he didn't get the best out of them.
Yeah, it seems like it's taken a bit, and obviously there's been changes to the group, and there's some different faces and names in there now. But yeah, it's interesting. It was interesting also to see. I got to say hi to Shalry Joseph, and Steve Ralston is one of his other assistants. Two MLS stalwarts from back in the New England Revolution days. But it's interesting. It's the vibe it's a really different vibe than it didn't feel like like an Arsene Wenger vibe of like sports medicine and like. Well, whatever. It felt more like rock and roll American football. And I know that I'm influenced by the music that was playing, but that's what it felt like. Or it felt maybe more like I would imagine the Bruce Arena Galaxy days were like. Yeah, it was an interesting post game, and he does have them playing in a way that's, like I said earlier, not that dissimilar to what the Whitecaps been doing this year in terms of not allowing goals, not allowing as many opportunities, and at the same time getting enough goals to win, right? I think they won 1-0, 1-0, 2-0, and 3-0, and they lost 1-0 to Seattle. So it's a great start to the season for him. He obviously, as a wily veteran, is not too cock-a-hoop about things. Yeah, he knows
it's a long
way to go. But Bo LaRue said in the postgame, like, look, like last year, I think the whole season we won 9 games, and we already have 4 this year. So we know we're off to a better start, but we know we got to keep going. And Bruce referenced, like, look, we have to be a club that is vying to be a part of the playoffs. And they're well on their way to that. And it'll be interesting to follow them throughout the year and see.
Yeah, because if they keep this up, they'll definitely be in and amongst it. I thought it was interesting, though, as well, hearing Bruce saying what you've just said there about, our aim is to get to the playoffs. Vancouver have bigger aims.
Yes.
And when you're hearing that, it's like, wow, we really have moved up.
Yes. Because he's basically saying, how I read past that or through that or from that was, they want to win the Supporter Shield. They want to win MLS Cup.
Yeah.
Like those are their...
It's like all those years where it's like, we want to get in the playoffs. We want to get through the first round of the playoffs. And that was the Whitecaps kind of thing.
Yeah.
Now it's like, the Whitecaps are expecting to be back winning the West, back Supporter Shield challenging in the MLS Cup again. And that's where, like what I was saying in the last part, the bar is so high now.
Yeah.
And hearing someone like Bruce Arena saying that, it sinks in a little bit more.
Absolutely.
Standings-wise, the Whitecaps finished the weekend. It was a weird weekend of results. And it's really created quite a logjam at the top of the Western standings. But the Whitecaps are second. They've fallen a spot. San Jose move on to 12 points with them. So they are in third place now. And it's the Whitecaps goals for. They've scored the most goals, the Whitecaps, in all of the league. They've only let the two up. And we'll go through some of the other games just now. Some are a little bit detailed, some not so much. But St. Louis came away with a 3-1 win against New England Revolution, and they were really needing that. Simon Betcher got them off and running, levelling things up after New England had taken the lead. But if you haven't seen this, the third goal in this game from Hartel, a long ranger. Have you seen this?
He's quality.
Yeah, Marcel Hartel from about 35 yards out.
Yep.
And that gave St. Louis a first win of the season. And it's always good when you pop your cherry in the year. Kansas City, after they had some decent performances, went down to a big 4-1 loss to Colorado. Colorado just really bossed them in this one, not too much.
That was in Colorado, right?
No, it was in KC.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I got that backwards. Okay.
But if you're looking for some highlights to watch for the weekend and you haven't seen this yet, I watched some of this live before heading off to BC Place. The Texas Derby. Dallas 4.
Yes.
Houston 3. What a game this was. Now, one thing I learned from the game in the commentary, we talked last year about how Toyota Stadium was getting done up, and it looks bad because there's a big chunk of it closed off and their capacity's down to like 11,000. So this season started, I was like, what have they been doing? It still doesn't look anywhere near done. This is the second of a 4-year redevelopment of the stadium.
Oh, wow.
They are going to be losing a shitload of money because the capacity's slashed.
That's crazy.
I mean, I'm sure it's going to be great in the end, but it was like, when I heard that, I was like, wow. But there was 11,000 packed in like sardines, the commentator said. Dallas got off and running early. 2 goals from Farrington in the first 14 minutes, and you think they're home and dry before Houston respond with 3 goals in a 4-minute spell to lead 3-2, and that's how they led going into the second half before a Holmes own goal brought it at 3-3, and the flag went up for offside. And I was watching the highlights because I'd only watched the first half live, and I was watching the highlights going, how was that offside? And then you see it back, and it's clearly onside. Mm-hmm. And this was one of those rare occasions that it's like, well, it's a good job the linesman didn't put his flag up early, because he was so wrong in this one.
Yep.
But the winning goal came 4 minutes from time. Peter Musa and Dallas get an important win in the derby, but this was a very entertaining game.
Well, we talked about how Houston's going to be a really, really interesting side for opponents this year, and I know they didn't get the result here, but definitely seeing it. And Musa was great. Was really good last year.
Yeah, he's
continued
off
to be
and
a threat
running.
this year.
Yeah, he's got off to a really good start. And Dallas, they've been really up and down so far. They're hanging around the lower playoff spots. They've got 2 wins, 1 defeat, 2 draws so far. So still don't really know what this Dallas team is going to be, but they've certainly got some attacking threats in there. But they do look very susceptible at the back. You've got to say that as well. LAFC, on the other hand, yet to give a goal up. They're top in the West, 13 points from their 5 games. They dropped their first points on Saturday in a 0-0 draw with Austin. Wasn't a fantastic game.
No.
But 8 goals for, no goals against. 5 clean sheets, extending the record for a start to the season without giving up a goal. We don't play them until into the second half of the season.
Yeah.
Which is maybe quite good, or maybe not, because they can have had some additions in the summer and then MDS can have figured things out. But I think a lot of this is probably from the exertions midweek in the Champions Cup. But going to Austin, getting a draw, never a bad thing. But Sonny
Austin had scored on them, but it was called back because a guy was offside, impeding the vision of the keeper, I believe.
Yes, he was right in front of him in the offside position, so that was fair. Sun's still not found the back of the net this year in MLS play for them. And folk are starting to question, is age catching up with him a little bit? Which folk have also been saying about Thomas Mueller a little bit. But I think what you have to remember about Son, Mueller, they came to the league last year.
Yeah.
Having played for an insane amount of time over in Europe with a very short break. So they're going to be fatigued. They're going to need a little bit of rest. They're going to need the minutes managed. Come the second half season after the World Cup break, I do not doubt for a minute that Son is going to be flying.
Yep.
That was all the Saturday games. Now, we were speaking, you had a busy day today. You were working and spent time with the family. I just felt drained from allergies. I just spent the whole day watching football. This was a feast of MLS football today.
Mm-hmm.
There were some really good games. Just focusing on the Western teams, Minnesota 0, Seattle 0.
Yeah, Hymas made his home debut, right?
He did.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a great game,
No,
I've got to say.
From what I saw the highlights, it was not great.
I think 0-0 was a fair result. Portland won, Galaxy won, though. It was quite an enjoyable game. Implications for the next Whitecaps game in this one as well. Because Portland took the lead from Velda in the 13th minute. They were looking better side. But then Kamal Miller gets a tackle in the 17th minute, gets a yellow card for it. I watching the game live, and then Klaus was down for ages after the tackle. And I was like, because at first it looked like there was nothing in it. And I was like, it's a yellow even, maybe a bit harsh. But then the ref gets called over to the monitor, and it's like, what the hell for? But you see it back, and Miller does go above the boot, and his cleats, his studs definitely go into the Achilles. And you can see why Klaus is down in a lot of pain. And as soon as you see it, you're like, I think that is going to be a red.
No. Yeah, poor Miller.
Yeah. Means he's going to miss the Whitecaps game at BC Place, though, on April 4th. So I think a good one for the Whitecaps. Miller can be quite up and down, but...
Well, he scored last year, right?
He scored that banger.
Yeah.
Because that was the thing. Like, during the San Jose game, as the minutes were ticking down, I said to you, this is feeling like the Portland game now, where they're going to get a long-range strike from nowhere, and then we're going to get a late leveler, and we'll just have to settle for a point. I would have taken that if it had got to that stage, but sadly it didn't. But yeah, Miller missing, they had to reorganise, they had to take an attacker off, put a defender on, and then the Galaxy just controlled the rest of the first half after that. Klaus got them on level terms. Fair play to Portland, though. They had their chances in the second half, as did the Galaxy. James Pantemis came up with a couple of big saves in this one. Wearing the mask, got 18 stitches during the week.
When you messaged me the update this week about that, I was like, oh, man.
I'm surprised they didn't get a concussion, I've got to say. But obviously they've done all the checks. He's got to wear the face mask now as well. He had some big saves. I still am very surprised he wasn't called in to the Canada squad.
Yeah.
And we'll come to that situation in a sec. But just to round off the action in the weekend, if you haven't seen this game live, definitely watch the highlights of this. San Diego 2, RSL 2. I watched it all. I said last week, I'm loving RSL games. They were so impressive again.
Yeah.
San Diego, though, also looked pretty decent. Solans gave Salt Lake the lead in the 17th minute. Ingvarsson tied it up. Good work from Dreyer in the build-up. Dreyer then put San Diego ahead in the 56th minute before Olatunji gets the equaliser for RSL in the 85th minute. Chris McVeigh sent off for San Diego for a second yellow card a minute before the end. Both teams had chances to win it. Salt Lake were excellent in this game, but perhaps the big talking points is something you don't see too often once in a game, never mind twice. Referee Alexis Da Silva is called over for a video review twice and sticks with his on-field decisions.
Says, no, I'm good.
And I think he was right to. The first one came early. It was for a handball by Dua in the box for San Diego. And, oh, sorry, it wasn't for a handball. This was for a challenge where I think it was, they were reviewing it for both a penalty and for Dogso. And I think Dogso would have been particularly harsh, but I thought it was a decent challenge. His hand was on Gozo's shoulder, and Gozo goes down the box, but I don't think there's enough to give the penalty. It wasn't given on the field. There wasn't enough to convince me that he went down because of that in the box, and the referee agreed. The second one, though, it's another one of those incidents that you can see both sides of it, and I'm not sure I know what a penalty is anymore. The arm's out. It hits the arm, but it's deemed to be a natural play, and he's stuck with his decision on the field of no penalty.
This is the hard thing, right? Your phrase there of I don't know what's a penalty anymore. It felt like a number of years ago when they kind of adjusted the handball rule in the box and whatever. It was like, okay, everyone understood, and it was like a long period where it was like very black and white, very cut and dry. And now it feels like, yeah, they've loosened that or given the referees more.
It's more subjective still.
Yeah, more subjective interpretation, and
because you've had two referees look at it, and well, actually both the penalties, two referees, the VAR official and the guy on the pitch, they've both looked at it. They've both got different ideas.
Exactly.
And with VAR, you can slow things down that make things look one way or the other. And I've seen this weekend from watching all various games in England and Scotland and in the A-League, and there's been some calls that you think, oh, that's going to get given. Oh, it's not given. Or, oh, that shouldn't be a penalty. Well, they have given it. I don't know anymore. It just feels a little bit of a lottery, but this is a great game. If you're only going to watch one MLS game highlights this weekend, I would say RSL San Diego's the one to watch. My second choice being the Texan Derby. They were two excellent games. We'll finish our MLS roundup as we've been doing, which is looking at the battle for the Canadian number one, which I think is becoming clearer by the week. If we're just basing it on club play, but it's not going to be just based on club play. Jesse Marsh has said both Max Crepeau and Dane St. Clair will get one game each in this international break, but Max is not being helped by being on a very poor Orlando side.
Yeah, the loss of Poppy has not helped him.
No, another 5-goal defeat.
But when you watch it, do you really think he should have done better in any of the five?
I mean, no.
Yeah. So in the one sense, it's like, okay, well, he's going to face lots of shots, so that's great. But it doesn't help your confidence when when it's like you're looking at your watch, being like, what time is it? You know?
Yeah. Sam Surridge hat trick. He's up to 8 goals now. He's flying.
I didn't get to watch these games. I only watched the highlights. So I don't know if I even saw a Max save, but the goals, I felt like he didn't really, there wasn't anything where I was like, oh man, he really should have gotten to that.
I'm just getting
I know one was a
stats up now to see if he did actually make, I mean, he must have made some saves.
He must have, yeah.
I mean, you would hope it wasn't just five shots ending up in the back of the net. Oh, Orlando had 10 shots in the game, 1 on target. Nashville, 18 shots, 9 on target.
Yeah. They made 4 saves.
Yeah. So, I mean, they're creating shots, but they're a bad team just now.
Mm-hmm.
But
aren't they linked to?
I was just about to say, it was just confirmed Antoine Griezmann has agreed to join them in the summer.
Oh, is that official now?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Well, I don't know how official, but it was doing the rounds.
That's post World Cup?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
He might be wondering what he's coming to. But
is their coach interim?
Yes, at the moment.
Yeah. Okay. So you got to think they're going to bring in someone bigger for that.
I would think so. But we nearly had deja vu at Yankee Stadium because 2 weeks ago, Max Crepeau got sent off for carrying the ball out of the box. And Jesse Marsh described Yankee Stadium as the worst pitch in world football. in his call this week.
Is it 2027 they get their stadium?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's looking good. I've seen some pictures of it this week. It's really starting to come together. But yeah, Max carried the ball out. Now, the 18-yard box is still the 18-yard box no matter how shit the pitch is. So I'm not sure you can exactly blame the pitch and how narrow it is for all that. But Dane Sinclair almost did the same thing this afternoon. He was right on the... Well, he was out of the box, but his hands were still in.
Yeah.
It was very tight. And that would have been so ironic, the two Canadian keepers getting sent off for the same thing a couple of weeks apart. But Miami got the win. Max had a couple... not Max, Dane had a couple of good saves in that game. Couple of dodgy moments as well. But let's hear a little bit from Jesse Marsch just talking about the battle for the Canadian number one from his press conference this week.
Do you anticipate naming your number one goalkeeper during this window, or will that be a decision for closer to June 12th?
No, they'll each get one match, and then we'll take all the information, and then as we get together in May and get closer to June, we'll be ready to make a decision at some point, whether it's at the beginning of camp or middle of camp or before the first match. We'll identify that as they continue to go along. But I can just say that I think both of them have continued to show their form, their mentality. I think the red card for Max, I've been in that New York City pitch, and it's the worst field in professional soccer in the world, that pitch. And so it's impossible to know your surroundings and where the lines are and how the lines on the grass, and even the referees get offside all wrong all the time. So like, I don't put that mistake on Max. Like, that was a total anomaly and outlier. And both of them, I think, continue to push themselves at the highest level to qualify themselves as the starting goalkeeper.
And I wear it for my lady, the Canadian flag, baby.
So Jesse Marsch there, both keepers will get a game apiece. It does feel that it is Dane's now. He's not committing to naming his number one yet, but I don't see Dane not having it.
Sadly, I think you're right.
I still think James Pantemis deserves to get brought into the mix as well, but I'm not watching Owen Goodman. Maybe he's having a season to.
I will say
remember,
I think part of it is we see so much of Pantemis.
Yes.
But number maybe the more important thing, whether it's Goodman or one of the other dudes, I think if you're Jesse Marsch and you're having the perspective that we know Jesse Marsch has, which is the long-term betterment of Canadian football, I think the number 3 spot should be used on a keeper that you see in more of a long-term role, right? Because I think with a third keeper in a tournament like this, there's kind of, I think, maybe 3 approaches, right? You take the third best keeper. You raise one option. Second option, you take an experienced keeper, or maybe there's 4 options. You take just an experienced keeper. You want to have an experienced either. Fourth, you take a person who's going to be great for the locker room. So he already has good existing relationships, or just as a quality locker room dude, keeps things light, they're funny, whatever. And then fourth is, which I think is he maybe should do, or maybe should consider, or maybe already is based on what we know of him, is like, who is the next keeper, right? Who is the person you want challenging next for that role? Who cares if they're 17 or 18 or 21 or considered super young or whatever? Let's bring that person in to get them as ready as possible. Because I don't think, honestly, as much as I do like Maxime Crépeau, I don't think either Max or Dane are going to be kind of like that Manuel Neuer or even in Canada's case, Milan Borjan. And play until their late 30s as a starter for the national team. I think there is going to be the opportunity for a younger and up-and-coming keeper to kind of take that role. So it'll be interesting to see which of those approaches they kind of end up going with. But obviously,
Dane Sinclair's 28. I mean, you would think he's got another World Cup in him. Max is 31. So this might be Max's swan song.
Yeah. But if you bring one of these guys who's like whatever, 18 to 22, one of these younger guys that they've had him before, I
Yeah,
think one of
well,
the, I
yeah, I
think,
mean, Goodman's 22.
yeah, I think I think that's a fair approach.
Just seeing what age. Oh, Pentemis is 29 now.
Oh wow, I've heard that he was that old.
Yeah, I didn't think it was that old either. Wow. So yeah, we'll see how they do in the games coming up next weekend in the international break. Last MLS stuff, just to round this part off. Didn't mention last week the playoff schedule was announced for MLS. I don't know if you even saw that. I forgot to mention it to you. The MLS Cup final is getting played on December 18th this year.
It's beginning to look.
It's a Friday night.
Wow. Oh, Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I didn't see this. I didn't see this press release. Okay, wow, that's crazy.
So that's finishing super late this year, obviously because of the World Cup and stuff, which makes the announcement this week all the more interesting because MLS announced the initial structure of the 2027 sprint season that they're going to have before they switch the schedule to the new summer to spring calendar, which is going to kick off next July. So we knew there was going to be a short sprint season. So we don't have the exact dates yet, but it's going to be wrapped up by the end of May. So you have to think it's going to be starting mid-February, maybe even early February. And you've got the MLS Cup finishing on December 18th. So a very short off season for teams that go deep in the playoffs.
Yeah. I know you asked a very good question when all this was originally being announced is, what does MLSPA say about this? Or like what, because they have standards in terms of number
Well, we
of
know
weeks
all the
players
new
can have.
contracts that they're all getting sorted, but yeah, what does it mean for the existing ones? And also there's a mandatory 6-week break that the players get as well. So that'll factor into it. But the sprint season will run from February to April with the playoffs in May. So you have to think, unless there's going to be midweek games, which is going to be tough because the Champions Cup's going to be on, they have to start earlier. Which means pre-season is going to start earlier. So there could be a very short turnaround for teams. But it'll be a 14-game regular season from February to April with every game being intra-conference play. So the Whitecaps will play 14 teams in the West, 7 at home, 7 away. Now, that can have big impacts as well. Who you get at home, who you get away, what stadium hosts certain games.
Yep.
Some big home field advantage for some teams could be taking place in that as well. The top 8 teams, as normal, will go into the playoffs in the East and the West. And then there will be 5 CONCACAF Champions Cup berths up for grabs, determined by the sprint season results for 2028. And 18 teams will then qualify for the Leagues Cup. That doesn't look like it's going away anywhere either. You've got to also then wonder how you fit the Open Cup, the Canadian Championship, into this schedule change and stuff as well.
Yep. Did it say anything about the rationale behind the switch to the Friday night for MLS Cup? Because it's already a cold time of year. There's at least some chance of, if it's, in the East, that if you play it on the afternoon, it might be less cold or less horrible weather.
I don't remember seeing. I'm thinking it's so that they can try and avoid college football, NFL.
Yeah.
Maybe Friday, a chance that you've got that. Well, you're not going to have it to yourself because it's going to be hockey, basketball.
Yeah.
There's going to be high school sports on a Friday night and stuff as well. And then later in the year, depending who hosts it as well, it could be very, very cold and snowy conditions.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So we see how all that plays out. That is all the general MLS chat. We're going to get back talking Whitecaps, though, in the next part. I'm going to bring you 2 interviews that I've done this week with 2 Whitecaps defenders, Mihail Gherasimencov. I catch up with him and also catching up with a man back on the pitch, as we touched upon in the last show, centre-back Sebastian Schonlau. And we'll be back with that after our 3rd song from our Artist of the Month.
Hi, I'm Ralph Briso, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part, it's the third and final song this episode from our Artist of the Month for March, Scottish band Biss, and that was their single Detour, the band's 12th single, overall released on July 5th, 1999, and the third to be taken from their second album, 1999's Social Dancing. Criminally only reached number 80. It's an absolutely fantastic song, one of their best songs all round, I feel. And again, a song that kind of was moving away from the bubblegum pop, and it was a more polished, rounded sound from them as well. But we've got a couple more songs to bring you from Biss to round off the month. They will be in the next episode of the show, and one of them is one I've been really looking forward to bringing you, and it's one that you might know, but you might not have known that it was by Biss. So we'll be back with that in the next episode. We'll get back to the football chat now, and we're going to go back talking Whitecaps in this part and bring you a couple of interviews that I did this week out at Whitecaps training with two defenders that are at different stages of their footballing careers and also, weirdly, their Whitecaps careers. And the first of them is a catch-up, a follow-up with Whitecaps Academy graduate Mihail Gherasimencov. We spoke to Mihail at the start of this month in episode 718 of the show, just to chat about him signing his homegrown deal with the Caps, his footballing journey so far, going out on loan with Cavalry FC in the CPL last year, doing well in that, earning that MLS deal, and also chatted about him being a Moldovan international. A lot of stuff covered in a good chat with Mihail back on our March 3rd show, so check that one out, episode 718. But in that interview, kind of joked with him, we know your first team debut is going to come, and it's going to be a matter of when and not if. And we said, I'm sure it'll be soon. Didn't really expect that things were going to take off for him as quickly as that after we did the interview, because that very next weekend, he made his Whitecaps MLS debut, coming on as a late sub for the Caps down in Portland in that 4-1 thrashing at Providence Park on March 7th. Came on in the 89th minute, played, I think it was about 8 minutes, a stoppage time as well as that. One officially just goes down as the 1 minute. Didn't look out of place, had a look and goal, a good cross put in, and we spoke about how well he did. The following weekend, he gets his first MLS start in the big 6-0 win over Minnesota, played the full 90 in that one, and again, put in an excellent performance and was rewarded by Jesper Sorensen by getting his second consecutive start this past weekend in the 1-0 loss to San Jose Earthquakes. Went 88 minutes in this one, and again, put in a really good shift. As we talked about earlier, was a player that was one of the ones to impress in that game against the Quakes, and very excited to kind of see what the future is going to hold in store for Mihail and the Whitecaps this season. So I got a chance to chat with him on Thursday before the Quakes game, just to talk about making his debut, his first start as well at BC Place, and just how the whole experience has been for him as well, as he gets set for another call-up with the Moldovan national team. Here's what he had to tell me. Mihail, this is just really a follow-up. We spoke a couple of weeks ago and we said, well, we know your debut's going to come. Then the very next game, it came down in Portland. Did you know you had a chance of getting on the pitch on that game?
I didn't, but like after like the score was like 3-0, like around like 4-0, 4-1. I was like, okay, like this like my chance, like I can probably make my debut. And so like I just started getting ready, and then I just heard Jesper call my name. He was like, get ready, and yeah, that's when I found out I'm gonna make my debut.
I mean, you must have been absolutely buzzing. You've worked so hard to get to this stage, getting on. A great place to make it as well. Like, the atmosphere is always electric down there. Were there nerves? Were there butterflies? Because if there was, you didn't show them on the pitch.
I don't think there were like really like any like nerves. I was just like happy to like just like be like on the pitch, just like play, just like showcase myself, like show everyone. But like, okay, this is me. This is how I play. So I wouldn't say we're like any nerves. So just like happy to just like be there to play.
And then you got your first start in the mammoth win against Minnesota last weekend, and again didn't really put a foot wrong in that. When did you know that you were going to get the start for that one?
I think like the day before my game. Yeah.
Did it let you get a chance to get some family members come through to see you?
I told my parents that like same day, but like I'll be starting tomorrow. But like I have like a bunch of like siblings at home, so like we couldn't go.
Yeah.
So we're just like all watching a game from home. But my girlfriend was here, so she was able to make it to a game.
Okay, that's cool. I mean, that game last week, making your debut, how did you feel out there? Because, like, honestly, maybe the first 5 minutes, I thought they're going to attack you because they'll be like, oh, he's a young guy, we've got a chance. But you dealt with everything that was thrown at you, and you just looked so comfortable out there. I mean, it feels that you feel that you belong at this level.
Yeah, I mean, like, I've been, like, working, like, hard every day, trying to get, like, the, like, start of a debut. And yeah, I did have some nerves, I'm not gonna lie, like before like I step on the pitch, but as soon as the whistle blew, it was just like, okay, let's just like focus now, and then just like one pass after another just became like more comfortable. So yeah.
I know MLS do this thing, there's like a little patch and it's like debut and various things like that. Like, do you get to keep your debut jersey? Is it a special jersey? Are you going to like send it to your parents?
Yeah, so my mom, she likes to keep my jerseys. And after I made my debut in Portland, like all the guys, we all like signed my jersey. And like I was like, okay, Mom, this one's for you. You can keep it. She always like puts it like on the wall.
Nice.
So she has like I think like 2 or 3 jerseys now. So now she'll have another one.
You're just a way to go away again with the Moldovan national team. We spoke about that the last time we chatted about what that means to you to play for the country. But now, having had these games, you must be just full of confidence going over there. What are the games that you're going to be playing, and just how much are you looking forward to getting away again with the national team?
So we'll have one game at home against Lithuania, and then we will be flying to Cyprus to play against them.
Nice. I've been to Cyprus. It's a beautiful country. I don't know if you've ever been there.
No, it's going to be my first time.
It's a lovely country. You might not get a lot of chance to do any sightseeing there, but there's so much historical stuff and beautiful beaches. So good luck with that. Okay, perfect. Well, good luck for the rest of the season. It's been great to be at the 2 games that you've made your first start and then the debut. And yeah, just good luck for whatever the rest of the year has to come.
Yeah, thank you.
Mihail Gherasimencov there. And yeah, as I said in the preamble to that, looking forward to seeing him building this now. 3 appearances so far for the first team and has looked excellent, hasn't looked out of place. And in the next episode of this show, where we're going to have Asa Raymond on, maybe Har as well. We'll see if we can get everyone together at the same time. And we're going to just chat about the season so far, the issues that the Whitecaps have that they maybe need to address, and a few other things as well. But one of those topics, and I'll be very curious to hear everyone's thoughts on it, is once everyone is fit and healthy, what do you do in this left back position? Because you've got Tate Johnson doing so well there right now. You've got Matthias Laborda, who was excellent there last year. Samara Kugbe will be back at some point soonish from his long-term injury as well. And now you've got a 4th piece in the puzzle, Mihail Gherasimencov. They all deserve to play. They're all excellent left-backs. And you've got to try and keep them all happy whilst getting them the minutes that they need as well to continue pushing on, to keep them sharp, because you never know when they could be called upon. And obviously the likes of Mihail will, you would expect, get minutes in the Canadian Championship games, the League Cup games coming up as well, maybe some other MLS appearances sprinkled in. So it's going to be a bit of a headache for Jesper trying to get that rotation working to the best, keep everyone happy. So it's a nice problem to have, but it's going to be interesting to see how he approaches it. We'll talk a bit more about that in the next episode. But it was great catching up with Mihail again after his strong start to his first season in the MLS with the Whitecaps first team. Now, whenever we sign a new Whitecap, we always do our now infamous anyone fancy a chocolate digestive section. So when we spoke to Mihail, we didn't do that with him because he had already been a Whitecap with WFC2, with the Academy, but we still had to do the section with him for the show. So we're going to bring you that now and find out, does Mihail Gherasimencov fancy a chocolate digestive? If you're sitting at home and it's morning, early afternoon, and you want to have a hot drink, are you a tea guy? Are you a coffee guy? A mate guy?
In the morning, always a coffee guy. Like every day before I come to training, I must have some coffee. So I always have to wake up with like a cup of coffee. Like afternoon, like evening, I would say I'm more of a tea guy.
And do you have a sweet tooth? Do you like to have a sweet treat when you have your coffee or tea? And if so, what would it be?
I would say maybe with like tea. Sometimes if it's like in the evening, like just have like some tea, like have some snacks. I don't know what type of snacks, but how do you call like the like croissants, like that type of...
Yeah, so many players like croissants, and I always think croissants are like so unhealthy because they're just full of butter and sugar, but then you're burning it off a lot more than I am, so there's that.
Anyone fancy a chocolate digestive? fancy a chocolate digestive? Anyone fancy a chocolate digestive, even though it's unsuggested? Anyone fancy a chocolate digestive?
So another player that goes down the croissant route. So maybe I can convince myself if I'm eating some of these or the wonderful cubes that they have and the likes of To Live For and Shea Christoph that, hey, I'm just like the athletes. These croissants are not that bad for me after all. I was hoping I might have picked some kind of weird Moldovan treat, but not to be. But good luck to Mihail when he goes off playing for Moldova in these couple of games during the international break. And can't wait to see, as mentioned, how he progresses when he's back with the Whitecaps over the coming weeks and months. And we spoke about the defensive logjam that there is at the left-back position. You've got it at centre-back as well, because you've now got Tristan Blackman's back healthy, Ralph Priso's doing excellent, gets called into the Canadian national team setup once again, Matthias Laborda can play there, Ranko Veselinovic is going to be back soon. And then you've got Basti Schonlau, the German centre-back that was signed in the summer transfer window last year, got injured, an Achilles injury, playing for WFC2, trying to just get some minutes, get him up to game speed before his MLS debut, and that ended up reeling him out for the rest of the 2025 season. The 31-year-old German had come to the Whitecaps from Bundesliga side Hamburg, and it was a addition that was so needed with the centre-backs going down last year. Then he got that injury. Jodrik Pupa then, as we know, came with an injury as well. And it took him a little bit of time getting up to speed. And that gave Ralph Priso the opportunity to be centre-back. And boy, talk about grabbing a situation with both hands. That's certainly something that Ralph did. But it has left Basti Schonlau on the outside, looking in, just watching the season playing out. And on the one hand, you can get used to how the team plays, you can get used to the league and all the environments, but it's not what you want to be doing as a footballer. And then coming back from injury this year, picked up another mild injury during training, and that kind of had him ruled out. But finally, got to make his Whitecaps debut, got to make his MLS debut in that 6-0 win against Minnesota United on September 15th. 25 minutes he got in that one, and hopefully we can get Basti into that rotation, get some more minutes under his belt in the weeks to come. But I got a chance to sit down with Basti at training as well this week on Thursday, just to talk about how difficult it's been coming to another country, getting that injury, not being able to play, and his journey to getting back on the pitch. So go stick the kettle back on and grab another biscuit of choice, because we've got another interview to bring you, this time with Basti Schonlau.
So, Basti, we spoke last year, just after you signed, and then I was at the Whitecaps 2 game that you got the injury, and I mean, it looked so innocuous, and then I guess it's just kept dragging on. How tough have the last few months been for you?
Yeah, I mean, coming to a new club and after a week you get injured, it's maybe the worst thing that can happen at this moment. And at first we thought, okay, maybe it will not take too long, so yeah, I could accept it maybe a little bit better, but then it took more and more time, and in the end it was now I think almost half a year where I didn't play a single game for the Whitecaps. And of course you come with different expectations. You want to show who you are, how you can play, how you can help the team and the club, and all of these things I couldn't do. So yeah, of course the last 6 months weren't too easy always.
That's in the past. You're now healthy, you were back on the pitch, you got to finally make your debut, and a great game to make your debut in. How special was that for you to finally get on the pitch?
Yeah, I waited now a long time for this moment, because of course I couldn't wait for my first steps on the pitch during a game. And like you said, it was a great game to come in. The team did an amazing job until then, and yeah, I was just happy to get my first 30 minutes in an MLS game, to make my MLS debut. For this club, I'm still very happy about it.
I know it's not the view you would have wanted, but you had a very unique view last year. You got to see the team, you got to see how they play, you got to see the league. What have you made of everything so far? That this team from what you've been used to before, the league from what you've been used to before?
Yeah, I mean, like for now, for this season, it for sure it helped me to get here last August, to get to know the team, to see how Jesper or the whole coaching staff wants to let us play, and that was quite good for now. And since day one, I really have to say the guys welcomed me in their group. I mean, they didn't know me either, and then they couldn't also get to know me on the pitch. But I always had the feeling I'm very welcomed in the group, and that for me was an amazing sign. And maybe this describes the group that we have here, or that we also had last year, in the best way. And I think you can see this also on the pitch. That's not only like, okay, we have maybe 4 or 5 super or perfect players, but it's always the whole group. The whole group manages the things together, and I like the way we play. We want to have the ball. We want to be dominant. This is also what I'm used to play. I think we are on a good way.
Jesper's not afraid to rotate the defence, and we've already seen that in the few games so far this year. With Tristan now having a bit of an injury as well, do you feel you're good to go from the start of a game?
Yeah, I think I'm fit. I feel very good. Of course, maybe I'm not. Yeah, I need games now to come in my rhythm and everything. But from now on, like how my body feels, I feel very good. I feel good to go. And then in the end, Jesper takes the decision, of course. But if he will take the decision one day, I'll be ready and I'll be there.
I mean, you talked about needing the games to get the rhythm. Obviously, one way to do that is to get some minutes with the twos again, but then we saw how that went the last time. Is that a possibility for you, or is it just they want you just to focus on the first team now and not maybe risk having another setback?
Right now, of course, my focus is on the first team, on getting into the training. Unfortunately, we out of the Champions Cup, but of course this allows us maybe to train a little bit more than in the past couple of weeks, and that's also what I need. Like lots of trainings, lots of patterns. Just getting in the shape, and then. How we do it in detail, we for sure got to see. But right now I'm just focused on the next game.
So what have you made of the city in this time? You've had a lot of time to explore it. What have you made of Vancouver so far?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, of course, I had to get my enjoyment, if not on the pitch, then maybe off the pitch. And Vancouver is an unbelievable city. I've been to a few places, as well in downtown, but also around in the area. And I think it's a unique place. I've never seen this combination of mountains, of the sea, beaches. You can go skiing and you can go in the sea at the same time, so to say, on the same day at least. I think it's a very, can I say, livable city? Is it a word?
Yeah, it's usually voted in like the top 3 livable cities.
Okay, So it definitely is. I experienced this over the last 6 or 7 months now, and I'm happy to enjoy this the whole year.
Well, we're glad to have you back on the pitch, and good luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you.
Basti Schonlau there, good chat with him, and he's kept his spirits up. And it must have been so difficult. You're in another country, you're trying to fit in with the team, get the bond, get the chemistry with your teammates, both on and off the pitch. And this injury has just kind of set that side of it back for him so much. But he's a good, experienced defender that if the Whitecaps do need to call on him in the coming weeks, we've got him there now. He's a man that's been a leader on the teams that he's been on. He's captained the teams that he's been on before. So he brings some good experience to this Whitecaps side, which is still a relatively young Whitecaps side. And on the defensive side, there is going to be a big battle for minutes, and especially when Ranko gets back fit again as well. So we'll kind of see how everything plays out for Basti, but hopefully we can see a little bit more of him soon and see what it was that made the Whitecaps bring him in the first place. Just last couple of Whitecaps things to round off this part. Whitecaps 2, unfortunately, went down to another defeat on Sunday. This time, a 3-2 loss at Real Monarchs. They were trailing 3-0 before Liam McKenzie scored another one from the spot in the 77th minute to reduce the deficit to 2 in stoppage time. A first ever MLS Next Pro goal for Ryder Sewell, player I watched play with the Whitecaps Academy in League 1 BC over the last couple of seasons. So great to see him get his first goal as well for the Twos. And I mean, fair credit to the Caps. They pushed hard trying to get the equaliser to send it to penalties. They couldn't do it, so it went down to that 3-2 defeat. They will be back in action though next weekend on Saturday at Swangard Stadium if you want to get out and see some live football. And just want to talk about a couple of loanees to round off this part as well. WFC2 forward Cyprian Catchwelly, who's been on the fringes of the first team with some call-ups from the Twos over the last season and a bit, has been loaned out to Vanni Sartini's Halifax Wanderers side for the 2026 CPL season. So that's certainly another reason to watch the Wanderers this year if you didn't need another one already. And I think it's a good move for Cyprian. The Whitecaps have been quite high on him, but he's had injuries, he's been away on international duty, and he's needing to get like regular minutes, a regular run in the team. So I think that move to Halifax is going to be excellent for him. And hopefully it kind of works out a bit better than the move that Nelson Pierre seems to have had with USL Championship side FC Tulsa. Nelson, who, if you've been a regular listener to the show, you know what a big fan I am of him. I think he's got a bright future, but he hasn't featured off the bench in any of FC Tulsa's first 3 league matches in the USL Championship this year. Very disappointing when you've been loaned out and not getting any minutes at that level at all. He did make his Tulsa debut midweek in the US Open Cup in a game at Little Rock Rangers in the first round. He played the last 30 minutes and he scored Tulsa's 4th goal in the 4-2 victory with 5 minutes to go. You would have thought that might have got him some minutes this past weekend, but sadly not. So hopefully things do change for Nelson, because the whole point of him going on loan was he needs to get those minutes, he needs to get the regular experience, work on his football IQ and everything about his game as well. So it's disappointing that he's not getting the chance to do that. So I guess we'll have to see how that loan deal goes. But that is it for our Whitecaps chat for this show. But we've still got one more part to bring you, as we're going to bring you another interview, this time with CPL Commissioner James Johnson, as the new Canadian Premier League season gets underway in less than 2 weeks. We'll be back with that after this episode song from Enemy's iconic C86 cassette.
Hi, I'm Mihail Gherasimencov, and you're listening to AFTN Show.
But
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part, it's this episode song from the groundbreaking and influential NME C86 cassette. We are paying tribute to that wonderful release, the 40th anniversary of it in May this year. And that was track 13 from it, from another jangly Scottish band, the Close Lobsters. They hail from Paisley, just outside of Glasgow, home of St Mirren FC, and that was their song Fire Station Towers. The band were formed in 1985, originally around till 1989. Big gap for them as well before they reformed in 2012. Still going to this day as well after reforming. They got a lot of airplay on US and Canadian college radio in the late 80s. They toured here and in the States towards the end of the 80s as well. And the track that featured on that C86 cassette was before they'd even released a single in their own right. It got them a record deal with top indie label Fire Records. And you can also find that track on the B-side of their excellent second single, Never Seen Before, that was released in 1987. The band went on to release 12 singles and 4 studio albums. Their debut, Foxhead Stalk This Land in 1987, was a fantastic one that I would recommend as a good starting off point on the band. Their most recent one actually came out as recently as 2020, Post Neo Ante, Arte Povera in the Forest of Symbols. And that album, incidentally, came out on the new or newish Scottish independent label, Late Night from Glasgow. It's a fantastic record label in Scotland that relies on crowdfunding for a lot of their releases, and tying in with our Artist of the Month, Biss. Their last 2 albums have both come out on that label as well. So we'll be back with another song, track 14 from the C86 cassette. In the next episode of this show, we're playing all 22 tracks in order to start the year. And then after that, the rest of the year, we'll be playing other songs from the C86 era. Hope you are enjoying those. We'll be back with another one soon. So we'll get back to the football chat now in this part, and we're going to finish with a special feature interview as Zach and myself get a chance to sit down for the first time with new CPL Commissioner and Canadian Soccer Media Entertainment CSO, James Johnson. So, welcome to the show for the very first time, the new CPL Commissioner and the CEO of Canadian Soccer Media Entertainment. Welcome, James Johnson.
Thanks, Michael. Great to be here with you.
It's great to finally have a chat with you. We've wanted to have a chat with you for a few months now. It's such an important year for soccer in Canada, for the Canadian Premier League, and just football in general. Before we get into a lot of that, you moved over from Australia, took over in the summer of the CPL, CSB as was. How have you found your first few months in Canada and involved with Canadian soccer?
It's been a great experience to date, Michael, both personally but also professionally. I've spent a lot of time really trying to learn as much as I can and genuinely understand challenges within the sport. I think that's been certainly a big part of my first 3 or 4 months. When I felt comfortable that I understood the real issues underneath the surface, so to speak, we moved into, as a business, strategy and vision, culture, and building capabilities. We looked internally to make sure that we were strong and we could we knew what the issues were. We strengthened ourselves so that when the year 2026 started, we were able to move in and start executing strategy very quickly, and that's what we've done. So, I'd say we're at the start of our execution phase. You've seen a lot from rebrands to new deals with Canada Soccer, which are long term, to new media rights acquisitions, to expansion. And there's a lot more to come in the coming months. But I think it's in a good space, and we're trying to move as quickly as we can now on that execution, because we want to make sure we can get as much as we can done before this small competition called the World Cup kicks off in June, so we can take advantage of it for the Canadian sport.
Yeah, we'll certainly touch on the opportunities there during this chat. A lot of folk listening to this will know you. A lot of folk listening to this won't. Our listenership, a lot of them are like MLS orientated, and some watch CPL, some don't. But your own background in football, you're very well travelled. You've worked with FIFA, you've worked with the Asian Football Confederation, the City Football Group, and most recently, Football Australia. What was it about the CPL that attracted you?
Look, there's a few things. I like to. My leadership style is transformational, Michael, which means professionally I'm looking for opportunities where my skill set can actually make change and drive positive change. That's something that is really important to me. So, what I liked about the opportunity in Canada is I think all the ingredients for success are here. It's just being able to bring them together and mix them in the right way to drive positive change. For example, women's national team is historically very strong. The men's national team over the past decade, you're the oldest podcast, so you know this better than anyone, but over 10 years ago, the team was ranked in the 120s, and today it's ranked in the 20s, right? Mm-hmm. And the team's still young, so it's going to get better. Grassroots participation numbers are high, and they're continuing to grow both in boys and girls. And then you've got this new league and competition structure called the CPL, and now what we call the PSLs and the NSL, that are really starting to form the foundation, if you like, for the player pathway between the grassroots participation and the national teams. And then this structure and these opportunities within the structure are all getting ready for a Men's World Cup, which, if we do our job right, we can only lift the level of the sport after the World Cup comes and goes. And I saw that firsthand in Australia with the Women's World Cup in 2023. Yeah. So that was appealing to me. I'm very excited by it, and there's so much opportunity, and I just hope I can add some value to help the game in Canada grow.
Your own love of football, and I know you played in your younger days as well, and you were capped at youth level for Australia. Where did that love come from? Because I think when people think of Australian sports, soccer's not always really at the top. There's the other football that I guess dominates all the airwaves over there, and you've got cricket that's big as well. So where did your love of the game come from?
Well, it didn't come from where I grew up, Michael, because the part of Australia I grew up in the 80s and the 90s is a part of Australia that for many years has been quite anti-soccer. Actually, it's been very pro rugby league and cricket in particular. That's in the country part of Queensland. My passion for the sport actually came through my origin. I was born in the UK to an Australian mother and an English father. My family emigrated to Australia afterwards, but soccer was part of my father's daily interests. He was a coach and also a player, and also his parents, and it's been a long line of actual Everton fans in the sport. So it's really ingrained in me through family, and I loved it. I loved playing. I loved the community aspect of it. I played all sports growing up, but soccer was the one that I excelled at. And then when I got to the end of a very short career, I got pulled back into it very quickly after I started as a lawyer, and now I'm a leader in the sport, of which I'm very proud of.
I think there's a lot of similarities from what I know from the soccer landscape in Canada and in Australia. You're in countries where it's not the main sport. You like the A League, the top level in Australia, but I know you were involved in Football Australia throughout. Here with the CPL, you've always got MLS there. You've got all the other sports. There's hockey. From the time that you've spent here already, do you feel those similarities between the two countries?
Yeah, I do. There's a lot of similarities. There's a lot of opportunities, a lot of challenges that are, I think, very similar. Where there is a big difference, and I see a bigger opportunity in Canada than I did in Australia, is it's really the structure, Michael. So football worldwide, both at the global level and also domestic level, it's very fragmented. It's fragmented from a governance perspective. It's fragmented from a commercial perspective. What I really like about Canada is that all of the commercial, all the commercial bits and pieces, whether that be media or sponsorships or merchandise and licensing now, they all sit centrally, which I think means that we're able to grow quicker than what we would in an environment or a structure where they're split, right? And I think that's something that I hope we can really utilize to our advantage, because in other countries it's not like that. The league owns these rights and the federation owns these rights. Well, here it's all centralized. In the new Canada soccer deal that we've done, we've taken that one step further. So of course we've got the same commercial rights that existed in the old deal, plus some more with the merchandise and licensing, which weren't in the former deal. But in this new deal, we've also included the national registration system that Canada Soccer will roll out, and its ability to plug into our digital ecosystem, which really brings the sport together. And I think that that's great for the sport. I think it's something unique. And I do think it's a way that we can look at the sport differently and start looking at, which parts of the sport are our strengths. Grassroots participation is, strong national teams is, people love watching international leagues, for example, Bundesliga, Champions League, etc., Premier League. Can we bring that all together in one central place so that the 18 million people that love soccer in Canada all go to the same place? I think that's how we become competitive to other sports. And I think that is something that's unique to Canada and something that interests me to be here.
James, it's really interesting to hear you talk about all that, because both your own personal kind of approach to things and where we're at in the game in this country, because it feels like you're just what we needed. Because and I was even told this about you when you were coming. I was talking to someone kind of involved in things, and they said James is the guy we need for this moment. The idea that your leadership style is transformational is, we need, that's what we need and needed. And so it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out. You talk a little bit about the deal with Canada Soccer. This is something that, as I'm sure as you came and you listened and heard what was going on, was very contentious for some people in the country in terms of how it was structured, and felt like there was a lack of transparency and all that kind of stuff. How has, I guess, bringing more transparency to that and updating it to make it maybe more equitable as well in terms of the women's game and all that kind of stuff, how has it been an important kind of early step for you in kind of getting the ball rolling?
Yeah, look, first of all, thanks for those initial comments, Zach, and you hit the nail on the head with the Canada Soccer Agreement. Look, when I came into the role, I thought that was going to be the thing that I really need to focus on to begin with, but I wanted to make sure I could validate that through listening. And within the first month, it became very clear to me that's actually the first handbrake we needed to lift in order to start seeing growth. There are a couple of others, but that was the core one. And it's a complex deal. It's complex because of its structure, but it's also complex because of the emotion around the deal, because of how people felt about the deal for many, many years. So, and then there was a relationship between CSB, who we were at the time, and Canada Soccer, which was also strained. So it was more complex than just looking at it from a commercial only point of view and saying, okay, this is how we fix the mechanics of the deal. It really required relationship building and trust building with Canada Soccer, and also us being able to prove to the public, to the to the participants, to clubs, to government, to commercial partners that, there was nothing untoward about the deal. And that's why, when we got to an agreement that we were happy with, which I'm happy with and Kevin's happy with, because it's a deal that's based on mutual growth, right? So in order for us to make revenue, Canada Soccer needs to, and vice versa. That's why we came up with the rev share. Like, we got the mechanics right, relationship improved. Like, Kevin and I have a great relationship. It's not like an easy one, because we have to have confronting conversations, but it's a trustful relationship, which I think is helpful. And then we got to actually releasing the deal. We effectively published the whole deal for that purpose, because we wanted everyone to see what we're doing, and we wanted to be transparent and wanted to lead in this space as opposed to reacting to. And I think we got it right, because when we released the new deal, there were people that had different views on it, but it wasn't a crisis by any means. I think it was generally well accepted by the community because of the transparency that we published it with.
Yeah. Would you say that it's now you like in your role and the CSME, they have a much better and healthier relationship with, for example, NSL, because that was one of the kind of, I know you don't have maybe super formal stuff, but has it been helpful in terms of that relationship? Because I know there was a sense from some in the community that the initial deal took money from the women's game and didn't put money back into it. Is that one of the things that it would be fair to say has been resolved in this?
Look, I think it has, because I think the deal's fair, right? Like, there's going to be more money in Canada Soccer than they've ever had, and that's a good thing, and we're proud of it. And we'll certainly be advocating with the incremental revenue that Canada Soccer gets, that a higher proportion of their revenue goes to the women's game. Like, that's a good thing. We support that. And also the incremental revenue that we're receiving from this deal. We're also investing in women's football as well. We're investing more in the women's national team and the media around that. We've recently purchased the NWSL rights, and we'll announce very, very soon that we've acquired the UEFA Women's Champions League rights as well, right? So, then we're investing in the Premier League that sits underneath, as we call them. And they are men and women's games. So we feel like this agreement lifts the level of investment for women's soccer on both sides of the fence. From a strategic relations point of view, my initial priority was with Canada Soccer, because I wanted to improve the relationship, solve the issue with the agreement, and operate under a new agreement. We've completed that now, so my strategic focus has really shifted to other stakeholders. And I'm starting to engage with the MLS and also the NSL, because I think that's the next focus that I need to have for our strategic relations. So we're at the start of that process. I hope we can have a framework where we can work together. That's certainly our intention. I believe that's the same with the NSL as well. Yeah.
Just for clarity's sake, a moment ago when you were talking about basically harnessing the energy and the community of the 18 million soccer fans in Canada, is it literally something as simple as creating this digital database so that you can leverage it in terms of getting better marketing deals, which then therefore create more revenues for you, for CSA, for all these things? Is it that simple, or is that too simplistic of a way to look at it?
No. It's, look, often the most simplistic strategies are the most effective, right? Look, I think it's very central, right? The more you can aggregate and consolidate, the more the more valuable your properties are, and the less leakage there is, right? So I think there's definitely a commercial rationale, and provided those increase in revenues are reinvested in the sport, which is our intention, that's a good thing. It's a good thing, because the sport needs more money to grow. I think the other way to look at it, Zach, is it's good from a fan and a participant point of view, because at the moment you think about, even yourself or other people that love the sport, right? If you want to play the game, you need to go and register in one platform, right? If you want to go and watch CPL, you go to One Soccer. If you want to watch, the UEFA Champions League, you go to DAZN. If you want to do a coaching course, you go to another platform, right? So what we're trying to do is we're trying to centralize all those all those bits and pieces together. So ultimately, the fan and the participant goes to one place, and they can register to play. They can do their coaching course. They can watch whichever soccer content they want. If they want to buy, the Canadian women's national team jerseys from Nike, like you can buy it in the same place, and it's a one-stop shop. And you can do that today with the level of digital transformation that exists in the industry, and that's something that we think we can do and help add value to the sport.
It's an important year for the game, as we touched on at the start. The World Cup's coming. The league is taking a little break, but it will be playing over the World Cup time. All eyes are on the game there. What is the hopes for you and for CMSE and the league to benefit from this and come out of this tournament with the game stronger in Canada and the league stronger and more people wanting to get out and watch the CPL?
So Michael, we have a clear view on what our role in the legacy of the World Cup should be for soccer in Canada. Now, it's coming from our view here. There's a broader conversation about things like infrastructure, et cetera, et cetera. But from our perspective, the way we can add value to soccer in Canada from a legacy standpoint is, first of all, commercialize the sport. So ensure there's more revenue that comes in and we can really, invest in Canada soccer in particular, which ultimately goes to senior national teams, youth national teams, et cetera. That's number one, commercialize the sport. Number two, it's to really help the sport break through into the mainstream, right? So that, soccer after the World Cup, whether that's CPL, the national teams, it is a mainstream sport. That's a legacy ambition for us. And we think we're in a position to do that because we're in the media and entertainment business as well as the sport. And then the third is to make sure that the interest that is driven through the World Cup, all the existing fans and also the new fans that come, that there is a vehicle called the CPL that can help carry the sport once the World Cup comes and goes, and that is the CPL. So from our perspective, our legacy focus is those three areas. And then there's a fourth, but the fourth is not something we can do on our own. The fourth is, it is infrastructure. It's ensuring that there's more stadiums around the country that are fit and proper for CPL and NSL teams. But that's something that we need to work closely with the NSL. We need to work closely with FIFA Canada and also Canada Soccer, and we're a contributor to that process, not a driver. But that's where I think we can play a role, and that's where I see us helping create this legacy beyond the Men's World Cup in 2026.
Yeah, I was at a thing last week with the BC Minister for Sport, and I was trying to push her on legacy and like infrastructure and stuff, but you got the usual politicians non-answer on that, and just, well, there's money, there's pots, it's federal. So I know it's difficult, and money is tight in the game in general. The CPL has lost 2 teams already, and I think some people, the folk that's never going to support the league, or use that as an excuse to batter the league. But there are genuine concerns, I guess, about the financial security of the league. Do you have any concerns about that going forward? I think everyone knew that the initial investment, it's a good 10 years or more before people start to make any money in this. But do you feel that the league is financially viable right now?
Yeah, I think it is, Michael, and I wouldn't be here if I didn't believe in it. Look, we obviously took a hard decision, and I personally took that decision about Valor last season, but there was a rationale behind it, and obviously we knew that Super was coming in. We are intending to expand in 27 and 28. We're not ready to announce those expansion plans yet, but that is the intention. So there's definitely interest in the market, and there's more interest as a result of the new Canada Soccer deal, because often when you come into the CPL, you're also a shareholder in CSME as well, which is a really unique proposition. I think we're going to see more growth this year. I think you're going to start to see the CPL mature as a league. Our focus is on really putting bums on seats and being more visible in the market. And we will announce very soon a new broadcast deal for the year 2026 for the CPL, which is going to be on more than one linear channel as well as one soccer. So you're going to get more visible. So there's a little bit of an insight. but we can't say who it is at the moment. But it will happen. We'll announce it in the next couple of weeks. And in the meantime, we're really focused on just getting people into stadiums, and really lifting those ticket sales and those averages throughout the league. And that's ultimately what people invest in, right? They invest in something that they can see growth in, something that's stable. And I think the CPL is going to provide that vehicle for investment, and we're going to see more coming in.
So James, as people are watching CPL this year on those new ways, one of the things that they're going to be seeing is some piloting of some new rules.
Yes.
I wonder if you could maybe speak a little bit to that. Yeah, I'll let you speak about that, and I might have one follow-up question about that.
Yeah, look, it's if you remember, I talked about the first 6 months how we looked inwardly, and we talked about culture and strategy. We also talked about values internally, like what is a value of ours, and we came up with 3. We came up with innovation, we came up with passion, and we came up with high performance, right? So my leadership skills is when we adopt values like that, we apply them day in, day out, and my team here knows that that's my style. So when there are opportunities to be innovative, which is a value of ours, I like to look at it and see if there's an alignment to our value. And I think with this one, there is. Arsene Wenger has been pushing this offside rule for a long time. We know he's probably one of the most successful managers of all time. I'm not an Arsenal fan, by the way, but he absolutely is. He's got brilliant ideas on how to improve the sport, and if we can help him deliver his vision and put the CPL and by extension Canada Soccer at the center of a global football debate, we think it's a good thing. And if you mix the link and the alignment with values to doing the right thing for the sport in Canada and also globally, I think it's a good mix.
So just as a follow-up to that, so you're talking about finalizing a deal with FIFA. Is there remuneration in terms of being a pilot for this, and can that be used towards things like maybe getting VAR or VAR light into the league, or those kinds of things, improving kind of the officiating in that sense?
Yeah, there's no commercial incentive for us to do this. It's not about making money on this particular issue. Of course, if we're going to do it, there'll need to be some kind of mechanism by which is professional, by which referees can look at decisions through broadcast and media. There's different avenues that we can go down, but they're all the discussions we're having with FIFA at the moment. So, if this deal does happen, and I think it will, you'll definitely see a level of sophistication increase by referee officials in the CPL for the 2026 season, and that is something that we're looking to do as we continue to grow.
Last couple of things just to ask you. I mean, you touched on the expansion there, and there's going to be some teams getting announced. One of the expansion things that I think excites a lot of people, and I know we're a long way away from it in the country, promotion, relegation, a second tier for the CPL. And I know that is something that is close to your heart in Australia, because you worked really hard to launch the second tier in Australia, and it eventually, well, I know there was a second tier, but kind of like the organised Australian Championship that started last year. Canada's a big country, and Australia's obviously a big country as well. We've got very good League Ones that were the Premier Leagues as they are now. Is the long-term hope that you can maybe have the best of those teams from the Premier Leagues to form an official second tier, or are we still a long way away from that?
Look, I think both your points can be true at once, Michael. I think in my view, the long-term vision should be to have a pyramid, so to speak, and you've got the CPL, and you've got a second tier, and you've got a third tier, which is run at province level. I think so. That's in terms of vision and North Star, we've all got to have one, and that's certainly our vision and where we'd like to see the league go. But we also need to be, practical, and we need to get things done on the ground. And for us right now, there's really 2 focuses. Number one is expanding the CPL, as we've talked about, and we've got ambitions to grow the number of teams. And we're going to do that. We're not going to rush it, but we're going to do it and go in the right markets and the right times. And the second one is to expand the PLSs. Premier League, Premier Soccer Leagues, I should say, which sit below the former League Ones. It's important for us. We've seen a lot of good work that's been done in BC. We've seen good work that's been done in Ontario. We've seen a rebrand of all these competitions with an alignment to the CPL. So we'd like to continue expanding these competitions across the country in provinces that, don't yet have them. At the same time, start creating more efficiency operationally within those structures so that there is a greater alignment and consolidation look and feel. So when you're going to a match in BC, you're getting the same experience as you're seeing in a CPL game. Like that's what we're trying to do, and that starts to really set the framework, I think, for further discussions about can we sustain a competition at national level that's second tier in between the third tier and the top tier being the CPL. I think we can. We just got to make sure we get the sequencing right.
I mean, it all sounds fantastic. Thank you for your time today, James. It's very much appreciated. I could talk to you for another hour on just your experiences in Australia alone. Last thing, just to wrap it up. I mean, you took over Football Australia during a pandemic, and I don't think there can be too many more challenging opportunities than taking on a football organisation when you can't have fans coming to games. What are your challenges for this year? What are you most looking forward to for this year?
I think the next big handbrake I'm looking to lift, Michael, after Canada Soccer deal is we're in final arbitration, or I should say One Soccer, our partner, which we're supporting, is in final arbitration with Rogers, a case which will ultimately give One Soccer more visibility through a linear channel. We're at the 89th minute of this long drawn out process, and the quicker this is resolved, the better it is for the sport. And this is a message to the soccer community. Like, we really need the support. We need people to get behind this, because once One Soccer is both an OTT platform and a linear channel, there's going to be a lot more people that get exposed to the sport, and it's better for the sport. So that's really the challenge, that's the opportunity, and that's what I'm really focused on now that the Canada Soccer deal is complete.
Yeah, hopefully that can get done. I've got TELUS, so I'm fine. $5 a month. I've got One Soccer, so hopefully this can get sorted out soon. Really appreciate your time today, James. I know it's going to be a busy year for you, and great to have you involved in the game here, and I'm sure we'll chat again soon.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Zach. Great to be on your podcast, and all the very best.
Thank you so much.
So thank you so much to James for his time. A great chat there, Zach. I could have easily gone another hour, I think, talking to him about football.
Absolutely.
So I was wanting to focus more on the business side of the game and the CPL in our chat there, which is why there wasn't a lot talked about at this stage about the season to come. James will be doing more media later this week, next week as well. So next time we do chat to him, we'll ask more about some of the on-pitch stuff. But I thought, just with where the league is just now in the grand scheme of things, it was important to talk a bit more about the off-the-pitch, the business, the growth of it, and the fallout from the World Cup, and hopefully the legacy that we're going to see for the game here in the country after that. I wanted to pick his brains more about stuff that he'd encountered down in Australia as well, because I do look at the similarities between the two leagues. And I know some folk will look more at the similarities between A-League and MLS. For one thing, the salary is certainly higher in the A-League than it is in the CPL. But the A-League now is in its 21st season. CPL is still such a young, fledgling league, really. It's in its 8th season. But it does feel that this is a very important year, this year and next year for the league. Mm-hmm. He's touched that there's going to be expansion there. And as he said, we just need everyone to kind of support what is going on at the league at all levels of it in the new, what was the League Ones underneath it as well, and just get out, support the game. And unfortunately, in Canadian soccer, which I didn't want to get into him in our very first chat, but there's a lot of internal politics, there's a lot of self-interest, and I think that is something that he's going to come across more and more as they try and grow things here.
I don't disagree with you, but I'm more encouraged now having spoken to him in this way, in terms of his ability to face those challenges head on. I have nothing against those who have gone before him in the roles that he's in, but he seems like even more so of the right kind of person, aside from the fact that if some people might wish that the person in that role was, Canadian. But if you put that to the side, I think everything else about who he is and his experience in the game.
Well, his resume is like the best we've had in this role in the league so far.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And like I was told when they signed him, he seems like the right person for the right moment. And hearing him talk about his leadership structure or leadership approach or whatever is transformational. That's really what the league needs. Mm-hmm. And so, again, no disrespect to those who've gone before him, but it feels like they have the best possible leader at the very vital moment for the league. And he I think is in a good place to help them progress in the way they need to progress and to face those difficulties and celebrate those good things in the best way possible.
And we were running out of time there. We went over as it is, which is going to be no surprise to anyone that listens to our interviews. Two things which I didn't mention there. One, he worked for the Australian PFA for a couple of years. Mm-hmm. So he knows the importance of good player-league relationships, and that can only help because Absolutely. We know the issues that the league's had in that regard, and it's way better now than it was when you had somebody that was quite anti-union leading the league in the past as well, and involved in Canada soccer as well, some people that weren't overly union-friendly. So that will help that relationship. And also, he was a big proponent of the Australia Cup, and he wanted to make the Australia Cup something special.
Yeah.
And that can only be good for the growth of the Canadian Championship as well. Yep. He led them giving a Champions League spot to the Australia Cup winner, which it only went to the A-League teams before. So his growth and him wanting to develop the game at all levels in Australia, he was there from 2020 to 2025. As I touched on at the end there, he came in during a pandemic and he left Football Australia, the A-League and everything like that in a way better position. He gave them more autonomy as well to make their own decisions. So it's exciting to see what the next few years will bring from him.
I didn't riff on the metaphor that he used, but I believe he was right in talking about he's come into a situation where there are kind of all the ingredients for success, but it's more about either how you use them or the amount you use them in, right? Like everyone knows from cooking, right? You can have amazing ingredients, but if you don't use them the right way or in the right amount, you get a horrible dish.
And you've eaten Caitlin's food.
And he's coming in and seeing, like, look, there are good ingredients here for us to use in the right way. We just have to use the right amount and use the right techniques, and we should be able to create a wonderful dish. And so, yeah, I think everyone who longs for the best for Canadian football is hoping that's the way things play out in the short and medium and long term.
And as we keep banging on about, it's such an important year for the sport here, and we've got to see and reap benefits coming out from this World Cup all across the board. Hopefully we will. The CPL season gets underway Easter weekend. Next week on the show, we'll do a lot more CPL stuff on that as well. So that's pretty much it for the show, but of course we can't finish without this episode's wavelength and without talking once again about Football Violence Awareness Month. And it's just nice that everyone is embracing it, Zach. All around the world, folk are embracing this month now. They're wearing their ribbons. They're fighting at football. And it's amazing sometimes how the songs that I've got lined up work perfectly. So we started the month off with a song about violence at Old Firm games. And then it all kicked off at the next Old Firm game. The song I have for us this evening is from a band from California. And midweek, there was a big stramash at a game in California. In the US Open Cup, Sacramento Republic against El Farolita, the famous California club named after a taqueria that captured people's imaginations the last couple of years in the tournament. So a derby that was quite fierce. They've played before. It needed extra time and 2 goals in extra time for the USL Championship side Sacramento to go through 2-0 in the end. But as the game boiled down, there was an incident right on the touchline with the benches. A lot of pushing, a lot of shoving, led to a little bit more. 3 red cards issued, including one to Sacramento's former Canadian international, Mark Anthony Kaye. I mean, he's such a cool-headed player, Mark. I can't believe he would get involved in something like that. It all seemed to stem when a Sacramento player taunted the Farolito bench, then it all just kicked off. The referee eventually calmed things down. It's like it was the 122nd minute when it happened. Gave the sending offs and then just blew the final whistle. Things continued after the final whistle. The El Farolito players then say that their family members were being attacked, I don't know whether verbally or physically, by Sacramento supporters. So they jumped into the stands. I'm not sure exactly what played out, but it's never a good sign when you see the players jumping into the stands.
You might rant about Nunez at the Copa America.
Yeah, I mean, it crossed my mind. It was like the whole Uruguay thing all over again. But US Soccer are investigating it. Multi-year bans could be handed out by the sounds of it to, I guess, the players or even the club itself. It's a shame. They've been a nice story, but you can't have scenes like this. But they are saying that they were defending their family, and I guess, like, watching the footage, some of it which doesn't seem to be all fully up there anymore, the stewards were just standing around and they seem to be doing nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, football security at games in North America it's kind of awkward, because as much as sometimes you have situations, I've observed situations in the past where there's been obviously no education of the stewards or security or whatever in terms of what a football match is and how it should be, what their role should be in it.
Mm-hmm. And it's a lot of young people as well that do those jobs, and they're not really equipped to deal with mass confrontation incidents.
Yeah. So sometimes it's a lack of knowledge or a lack of education, and sometimes even when they have been educated, there's lack of either desire to get involved or But yeah,
like watching the players going into the stands, it's like, is no one going to try and do anything about this? You're just going to stand and watch.
I think you've referenced it many times in the show before in the past, but yeah, I mean, we were standing up for the rights of Canadian families versus Moroccans in Doha.
That also crossed my mind when I read in the aftermath about this.
A whole different kettle of fish there, but I mean, part of this is like common decency and respect, right? Like, but that's we know that that's not always a part of our cultural moment.
Yeah. So that brings us to this episode's wavelength, and it's a band called Kilroy. They're from Woodland Hills in California. They've been going since 1982, a punk band. And this is a song from their 2008 album, Football Chants and Angry Rants. They've got another football song on that album called Heads Kicked In. That'll feature in a future Football Violence Awareness Month section as well. But this is Kilroy fighting in the stands.
It's about to go off right in your face.
Kilroy fighting in the stands, perfectly named for what took place down in Sacramento this past week. So we'll be back with another song, the final one for this year, unless we make it twice a year like we used to do in Football Violence Awareness Month. But that is it for the show. Before we go, Zach, any final thoughts from you?
If people are missing their local football this weekend, I think there's going to be some Vancouver FC preseason action Saturday at Willoughby. But check their social media this week for confirmation of that or times. I got some information
or
on
go out to WFC 2 at Swangard.
There you go. There's that too.
We'll be back with another episode next week. We've got some interviews lined up. We will talk about the international stuff as well, and we'll see what else we can conjure up to have an entertaining show. We'll also have an extra podcast coming out later this week around Canada and the international break. So if you're a subscriber, watch your emails for the link for that. If you're not, go on to aftn.ca and click on the most recent extra podcast, and you can find out how you can become one from $3 a month upwards. Various options we have for you. But until next time, as always, thanks for listening. Take care. And mon the Caps.
When you're listening in some far-flung corner of the globe to the World Service of a Saturday afternoon, crackly reception, interference, cosy, marvellous. Somehow comforting, isn't it? You know, legendary names, fathers and sons on the terraces, cheesy peas at half-time, pint for dad, mum's at home making the tea. Oh, everything's all right with the world, isn't it? Saturday afternoon is football.